Right, hello, welcome back to the Mr. Arsenal podcast. Tonight, something a little bit different, sort of still Arsenal related. Bit of a live debate. We've got it all kicked off basically based on our little kickoff we had after the full-time whistle on Tuesday night, with people thinking there isn't an agenda against Arsenal. Me and Richard think there is. And it sort of spurred out, it carried over into Twitter. So we thought we'd come back on, have a whole show dedicated to it, and have a proper debate without any hate, basically. And also talking to the devil, here comes another one of our guests. And as you know, Sam, Daniel back there fighting on the side of there's no agenda. We're all basically have a clue what we're talking about. We've got Richard, myself on the side of there is, and you've got Kevin and Nitish, and then obviously new to the channel, Adam. How you doing, Adam?
Hello. Yeah, I'm good. I'm very, very good, thank you. Looking forward to
after what happened on backstage before we went live. Are you sure you want to do this?
It's too late now, anyway. So
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be good.
Oh dear, right. And yeah, even though I'm going to be moderating basically and saying the time length you've got to discuss and put your point of view across. There's no good. If anyone jumps in while someone's trying to do it, they will be muted, taken at a stream for 2 minutes, and put back in. They have to behave themselves. Give people the chance to actually get their words out. I don't want any of this shouting over each other. We're not fucking other idiots on YouTube, basically, so we say. I'm not going to give names because it gives them airtime. But yeah, we're going to start with the side of there's no agenda. So Sam, we'll start with you. You've got 2 minutes to tell the viewers why you think there's no agenda against Arsenal from the FA and the referee and the media.
Okay. Wow, 2 minutes. I've never done this properly before, so you see how it goes. Anyway, listen. Basically, I just want to start off by saying I think what it is poor referees not doing their job correctly. VAR is not implemented correctly. There's a lot left to be done, properly with VAR. Listen, it's a whole chain of poor decisions we've had for a long time in England when it comes to refereeing, and it's evident in all games. I've got the research here in front of me. It's actually been done independently. It happens in all games. It happens against all teams. Poor decisions, so-called game-defining decisions where you think, it's a huge decision that's going against you. It's happening to all teams. Just look at yesterday. Mourinho thinks there's a Spurs agenda. You can go on back through 20 years more. Various managers saying there's an agenda against them. It's nothing new, and what it is it's poor decisions by referees not doing their job as they should because they're not good at it. The FA, of course, not then doing their due diligence by actually maybe removing these referees or maybe bringing in international foreign referees instead, maybe bringing in more quality from abroad. We're letting this carry on all the time, just creating more and more controversy. And and it's that for me, it's just a bunch of people not making the right decisions, from the referee on the pitch, the guys in the VAR box where they're sitting, and then the FA afterwards with the post-match reviews. They're also, they're covering for the referees because they don't want to overturn the referees, and it's just a bunch of incompetence, really. That's what it is, and for me, that means there's not an agenda. It's just, unfortunately for everyone, all teams, it's poor decision making. It's not an agenda, and then what's typical for us humans to do when we feel hard done by, our team's hard done by, we feel this keeps happening quite often, which as it does because the referees are poor. We think there's an agenda because we have to make a pattern out of everything. It's our something can't be a coincidence or something that's something for many other people to experience. It has to be unique to us, and we have to make a pattern out of it. Because that's what all conspiracy theories are based on. Is you try to make a pattern out of something you can't really understand, and it's much easier to make a conspiracy theory out of it and base it on that, i.e. an agenda or the Illuminati or whatever. than to actually say, listen, this is just a bunch of poor coincidences that have gone against us. And just one last thing, when it comes to overturned VAR decisions, I've got the research in front of me. I can send all you guys the link. Independent research when it comes to it's done by ESPN. When it comes to overturned VAR decisions this season, Arsenal, there's 5 teams who have had more VAR decisions overturned against them. 5 teams. So how is that a clear agenda against us? I'm sorry, just there's no clear evidence, and I'm talking about objective, independent evidence, not done by Arsenal fans on Twitter or Arsenal fans going through their own memories. I'm talking about clear, objective, independent research that shows that there is an agenda. Sorry, there just isn't, and I don't know if that's 2 minutes. Sorry, I don't know. My God,
Name the club.
I can name. I don't know. What do you want? Do you want me to answer that, or do you want someone else to go? Or
You can answer that. Go on.
okay, I've got the clubs here. Okay. Right. So against them, got it down here. Let me just go down here to where that section is. So with more controversial, overturned decisions gone against them. Let's see. It's where are we again? Sorry, I wasn't expecting to have to answer it straight away.
I think Sheffield United were highest from the region. I think I've seen the same information as you're referring to. I think Sheffield United came out the worst.
So we've got. I just want to say here. So overturned decisions against Arsenal on 5. There's actually a lot more clubs than I thought. There's Wolves, Tottenham, Norwich, Manchester City, Leicester, and Chelsea all on 7, and Sheffield United on 8, and West Ham on 10. West Ham have twice as many VAR decisions overturned against them. Twice as many. So, is there a West Ham agenda? I mean, to me, that's a much clearer agenda, 10 against 5 anyway. So that's what I've got here. There's quite a few clubs that have more overturned decisions against us. That's just this season.
Overturned against them as in, were they wrong decisions or were they just overturned and it went against them? If they're right decisions, why would anyone be complaining?
No, they're viewed as the going against what was originally intended.
Yes, again, I'm saying...
Yeah. I agree with it. As a stat, that doesn't really prove anything. If the referee's made a wrong decision and it's been overturned correctly by VAR, then that's
but it's gone against us.
Decision's been reached.
But it's gone against us. It's a decision that's gone against us.
It's irrelevant. If it's a right decision,
you don't know if it's the thing is it's still a decision that's gone against us. So we haven't benefited from that decision. It's gone against us. If there's an agenda against us, we should be seeing. If the FA is targeting Arsenal, we've got an agenda against us. We should be seeing a lot more than just those 5 decisions that were overturned against us.
What about all the decisions that didn't even go to VAR that should have against us? That wasn't even went to VAR to be corrected. What stats have you got on them? You won't have any because the stats for that don't exist unless you watch.
Not at the moment, no. But it's still not at the moment. I'm just looking at what's actually gone.
No, but that's a much more relevant stat, isn't it?
But then there's that. But that's the same for other games. We saw 3 incidences yesterday.
They all went to VAR.
We saw 3 incidences yesterday. There was one that didn't even go to VAR. We see incidences all the time. It's just when it doesn't happen to us, it's not such a big deal, right?
And listen,
I totally agree with it.
That's not an agenda. That's just poor refereeing decision. Just because it didn't go to VAR, that's down to poor refereeing decision, not to an FA agenda against Arsenal.
Who decides?
Or any other club.
Who decides which decisions go to VAR and which ones? If it's a similar thing,
the
say a
referee.
red card, exactly. The referee, yeah, right.
Yeah. So the referee is not FA. They work for the FA. They're not in cahoots with the FA.
Is it not VAR that decides what they review? Because the referee's made a decision on the pitch. Why does he think it's wrong? He hasn't. He's made a decision on the pitch, the referee, and then VAR will tell him we're going to review this. So VAR made the decision to review, not the referee on the pitch. The VAR referee does, right? The VAR referee on several occasions just this season for Arsenal has decided not to VAR a decision which was clearly wrong. For example, Pepe penalty against Sheffield United at home when he was clearly brought down for a penalty. It wasn't VAR. So that was a VAR ref decided he wasn't going to bother VAR in it at all.
And who's in charge of VAR? Other referees. and we've already established that the referees are incompetent. So when you're run by idiots, you're going to get idiotic decisions, aren't you? Do you know what I mean? So
I mean, everything that Sam said, I agree with. That the referees are incompetent. That it's one mistake after another, and that's I totally agree with all of that. That's been the case not just this season. That's been the case for years. And VAR,
many years.
And VAR was supposed to be brought in. My understanding was so. At the end of the day, if a referee makes a mistake on the pitch, I think all of us as football fans can understand that that's possible. Yeah, the game's quick, and they get one look at it and they get things wrong. And I've accepted that loads of times when a referee's made a mistake. VAR was supposed to stop that, because when a referee made a mistake, they could watch replays and say, actually, that's wrong, change it. Last night was the worst example of VAR and refereeing I've ever seen in my life. I'm 52 years old. I've watched football over 40 years. I've never ever seen one night of just 3 games, but it was so many terrible decisions by a referee that there wasn't reversed by the VAR referee.
And none of them involved Arsenal.
No, none of them last night involved Arsenal. And there is definitely an issue with incompetence of refereeing, and that's been a long issue for a long time.
So how does that match up with your agenda, though? That's what I'm trying to find out.
The agenda against Arsenal isn't just related to that. That's a part of it. But that's not the reason why. That's not the only thing that goes against Arsenal. That's not the only thing. Referees are terrible. I don't think there's any that our referees are terrible. But then even referees in Europe, for example, if you remember the Robin van Persie sending off against Barcelona when he couldn't hear the referee blow his whistle because of the crowd, and he took a shot at goal and got a second yellow card and got sent off. That was a foreign referee. That wasn't one of our referees that did that. So it's an ongoing situation throughout world of football. It's not just an English one. We see the English ones all the time. And I totally agree with everything that you've said there. The referees are terrible, and that's ridiculous how it's got to this point where they're getting worse, if anything. And yet they've got more help now.
The point I'm trying to make, though, as well, is that when you're saying that why wasn't it overturned by VAR, well, it's other referees that are in charge of VAR. VAR is not going to improve until it's run by an independent set of people looking at it that aren't referees and that aren't FA officials. That's what they need to happen. They need independent reviewers. What they don't need is other referees. Because listen, let's be honest, right? All them referees are probably mates, so they're going to back each other up. They're not going to overturn a referee's decision if they can help it, because that makes the referee on the pitch look stupid. Not that they already don't look stupid. So listen, it's run by clowns. You know what I mean? That it needs to be run by independent reviewers for VAR to be a success. The reason why it's more successful in other countries is because the standard of refereeing in other countries is far miles better than ours. At the moment, we have just got the poorest referees in the footballing world, in my opinion. We've got the poorest referees. They are just listen. They are.
It's not just your opinion. It's everybody's opinion. I don't think anybody would disagree with that at all. I don't think any football fan in the country.
We had. I think it's correct. I think it's correct. I mean, I haven't actually verified what I read the other day, but I read the other day that there was no English referees at the 2018 World Cup.
There wasn't. No, that's right. That's correct.
I mean, that shows you the standard is poor if you can't even get a referee at the World Cup to even in a group game or something like that.
I mean, you look at last night, right? The Manchester United penalty against Aston Villa, right?
Terrible.
The referee on the pitch clearly got it wrong, right? It was obvious for everybody to see. Now, the VAR referee has cared more about the reputation of his mate on the pitch than the integrity of the game. Because what he should have done was he should have overruled it and said, sorry, that's not a penalty. It's a free kick to Aston Villa and we'll crack on with the game. But protecting his friend was more important than making the right decision. And this is a problem. And this is something that, it's not necessarily connected to Arsenal. It isn't. It's connected to everybody's affected by this. Aston Villa might end up getting relegated by 1 point for the simple fact that the referee didn't do their job. The referees haven't got no consequence of that. They're not going to get banned. They're not going to get suspended. They're not going to get fined. They should be demoted and they should be banned and they should be fined for incompetence. That last night, that particular referee and the VAR referee, both of them have refereed games in the Premier League on a regular basis, and no doubt they'll be refereeing a game tomorrow or on Sunday. both of them will be, and it's an absolute joke, and that needs to be addressed. You know, we can't address it here, but it's definitely a good discussion to have because we're all in agreement with that.
But the point I'm trying to make is that the fact that these decisions are happening to other clubs cancels out your theory that there's an agenda against Arsenal, because it's happening to other clubs. It's not just happening to Arsenal. And as Sam read out just there, West Ham's got far more decisions overturned going against them than Arsenal. So how does that fit in with your agenda against Arsenal theory?
Because the agenda against Arsenal isn't just related to refereeing decisions on a match-to-match basis. It's not that, you know, Arsenal are probably over the years, I think Arsenal have maybe suffered more than a lot of other clubs, but I'm not saying that we've been the worst treated club by referees in history, because I wouldn't say that would be true. Probably not, because there's no stats to prove that is. But it's more about, for example, an example of this is if we have a look at the very latest one, which was the Nketiah red card and the subsequent suspension and the subsequent appeal. When have we ever won an appeal against a red card? When have the FA ever backed us in an appeal? Ever? I can't ever remember it happening. Ever.
Let's be honest.
Other clubs get red cards all the time. Other clubs win appeals against red cards on a regular basis.
Let's be honest. If that appeal had been overturned, it would have been controversy, because that should have been a red card.
Well, it's controversial anyway, because 24 hours later,
the
Burnley player makes a similar challenge, but worse, because there's more intent. There was no intent of the ball. Put the West Ham player out. He could have broke his leg if he'd gone all in, if he wanted to. The intent was there.
But that matches up what we're saying.
Got a booking. VAR didn't check it. The FA have then reviewed it the next day and said,
"Yes, I agree."
I'm not saying that the Nketiah decision should have been overturned. I'm not saying it necessarily should have been. What I'm saying is we never ever get an appeal overturned ever. Never. I can't remember ever having.
Listen. I haven't gone through all the red card. What's it called? The protest. We protested to the FA. I haven't gone through all of that history with to check that. But I'm pretty sure there's been some times when we have. And listen, other teams have had. I can tell you. Listen, other teams get it the same way as well. The FA is not just looking at. The FA is not just looking at a team and saying, no, you can never ever have a red card overturned. It's just down to people not making the right decision. That again yesterday, that you're talking about that incident yesterday that was similar to Nketiah's incident, that didn't even get or the referee didn't even really react to it, did he? I mean, it didn't get a look by VAR or anything. So, but listen, that's a different referee making a different decision, making a poor decision again. You know, it matches. It lines up with what we're saying. Is that you've got poor referees. You know, I'm sorry, you've got referees making poor decisions. You know, they're incompetent. They're not doing the job they should be. It doesn't mean there's an agenda. It doesn't mean there's a strategy behind it.
No. Like I said, it's not really the refereeing decision so much that is the point. I think what you've got to remember is that there's a lot of things in history that Arsenal have suffered by the FA in terms of points deductions that no one else has had to suffer, in terms of, like I said, appeals against things that we very, very rarely, I'm not saying never, because, okay, we probably have maybe had one or two overturned possibly, but very rarely do we. The media are also have had a constant bias against Arsenal that's worse now than it's ever been, and it's always been there. Arsenal always. It's always negative press. Arsenal get even when there's a positive story, the press will always put a negative spin on it when it comes to Arsenal. Whereas they'll blow smoke up the arse of Liverpool, Man United, Chelsea, and for the same story when it involves Arsenal, they're looking at all the negatives to bring out. It's a negative story when it involves Arsenal.
I feel often the same way as an Arsenal fan. You know, I feel often the same way when it comes to media coverage, that we're unfairly treated in the media. I feel that as an Arsenal fan. But at the same time, you know, for me to go as far to say there's a clear agenda or there is an agenda, for me, I'd have to see research about this. I'd have to see independent research where you look at each article about each team, whether it's negative or positive, and you you turn it into statistics and you turn it into something that's actually viable. Because as Arsenal fans, we're always going to subjectively feel hard done by. You know, it's human nature. It's
Do you
human
think
nature.
Manchester United fans feel hard done by when they've had 18 penalties this season? Do you think they feel hard? Do you think Liverpool feel hard done by VAR this season? Do you think they do? They don't. Why don't they? Because they haven't been hard done by.
But if that's a coincidence,
it's not a coincidence. Over a season, it's not a coincidence.
Yeah, sorry.
I've got the VAR stuff here. Sorry, Ryan. I'm really sorry. I'm just saying I've got the VAR stuff here in front of me. Liverpool have got three decisions overturned against them. That's only 2 less than us. And when it goes in there, and
that's a very narrow statistic, though, isn't it? It's not.
And in their favour, overturns in their favour. Liverpool 5, and you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 teams that have had more decisions turned in their favour.
Yeah, but that's a very narrow statistic, though, isn't it?
But that's the statistics we've got, mate. That's the statistics we've got. That's the VAR statistics.
Well, no, it isn't, is it? No, it's statistics about what's been overturned. That's not really the issue, is it?
Yeah, that's what we've got to go on at the moment, isn't it? I mean, all the other stuff we're going to have to collate. You don't have all the stuff outside for Liverpool that you have for Arsenal.
No, of course not. No, but you said before that there's, every team feels hard done by. I was asking the question: do you think Liverpool fans feel hard done by this season?
Probably not because they're winning, right?
Yeah,
they're winning because they're winning. Did we feel hard done by decisions in the 2003?
I did.
Because that one incident at Old Trafford, right?
Not just one incident at all. It's not just one incident.
I didn't hear fans. Listen, I didn't hear fans moan about any agenda in 2003, 2004. I didn't hear any fans.
Nor did I.
There wasn't any social media then. That's why. Unless
I was around fans. I was around fans talking to Arsenal fans. I didn't hear much that season.
Was Tottenham fans complaining then back in December when Son broke Gomez's leg, got a red card in the match, had a little cry, got it overturned? Were they complaining? Is it okay for that then? But
I don't know. I don't know, mate. I don't know. That's too. How can I answer that just sitting here? I don't know.
Just say it's like.
Can I say?
How does it prove an agenda, though? We're talking about an agenda. We're talking about an agenda, right? How does that prove an agenda? That's what we're trying to prove here. When it comes to the media, I can be more open to that because as an Arsenal fan, I'm reading articles, all over, and I see they are from me as well very negative.
Does that not influence people? The media influence everyone.
Can I talk about the media, right? Because you're saying that the media have been constantly negative towards Arsenal. Where's the performances on the pitch to prove the media wrong? Hold on 1 second, right? Because everything they've said, as far as I'm concerned, have been bang on. Because let's be honest, we've been bang average for the last 2 seasons. When we were on that 22 game run unbeaten under Unai Emery, the media was saying that nothing's really changed. Arsenal fans were going, yeah, we got our Arsenal back. And then when it all fell apart, Arsenal fans agreed with the media, going, oh, actually, maybe we are shit. The problem is we've got so many flip-flop Arsenal fans in our fan base when they don't see things for what they are. Listen, I personally think that the media have been bang on with Arsenal because we've not really improved as a team, and that's part of the criticism is that we should be Arsenal should be not where we are. We should be the club should be run better. The performances on the pitch should be better, and they're not. So I don't necessarily think that the media have been negative towards Arsenal.
Okay,
I just think that some Arsenal fans need to take off their rose-tinted spectacles and realise the shit state that we're in.
No, but you're right, and the performances have not been good enough. But the fact is, Arsenal are portrayed in the media as being in crisis. Tottenham are considered to be not in crisis, and yet we're having a better season than them. That's what I mean. It's the contrast, right? The media portray everything at Arsenal to be a lot worse than what it is. You said when the 22-game unbeaten run was going on, it was portrayed in the media as nothing's changed. Well, clearly at that time, for those 22 games, it had changed. It didn't ultimately proved that it changed long term, but at the time that we should have been given credit for those 22 games unbeaten, and we wasn't. And we should. And
okay.
other teams now should be given a lot more criticism than we are. For the fact that look at Tottenham as the example. The media love Tottenham, and at the moment they're not focusing on a crisis at Tottenham. They've been focusing on a crisis at Arsenal for 4 or 5 years, and the media influences what fans think. Other fans of other clubs, what fans of Arsenal think. Influences referees, it influences everything. It influences the FA because Arsenal are portrayed. They have been, not just this season, not this last season, for 25, 30, 50 years. Arsenal have been portrayed negatively in the media since the 1930s when we had all the money and we bought everything, and the media didn't like it. And we've had, and the media have been against us ever since. And that influences everything else around it. Because the media influences everybody.
And I don't know.
I want to bring in other guys because they've had a chance to.
There's 3 other people here. 3 other people. Yeah.
No, I was actually sharing the video around a bit, but I'm done with that. So if you remember last season, it was also said once Emery was sacked at the end of this before the pandemic this season, that 50% of the responsibility of getting Emery sacked was also on the media. So I agree with the fact that they have been criticizing us when there was no need to actually do that at one point of time when we were even winning the games. Yes, we did mess it up a bit towards the end of last season, but then obviously the one of the main reasons was because of the Ramsey injury and no creativity in midfield, and the club was also responsible for letting him go. So with respect to that, but yes, I can understand why everyone is feeling that there is some of you are feeling that there is an agenda against Arsenal because 8 decisions have gone against Arsenal. I don't know whether the VAR, the stats that you're giving, it actually shows whether they were correct decisions or wrong decisions, because it just said where it went against the club. But with respect to Arsenal, 8 decisions have gone against Arsenal with respect to where we should have had those calls in our favor. And there were penalties, like one of them was the penalty against Palace. There were other decisions, including the Vardy goal, which was an offside. If we go into that debate, obviously we'll have that discussion as well. So there were such 8 incidents in total, and we have lost around 12 to 15 points this season. If we did not lose those points, we would have been probably in the top 3 or 4 right now.
Adam, you put your hand up before. You want to get your penalty.
Yeah, so I've heard a lot of stuff. And Sam, love what you're doing, but I'm sorry, I have to agree with Richard. Reason being, I get it. We've all said it. The standard of refereeing in the UK, in England, is terrible. We know. But I guess you have to get as close to a level of consistency as possible. And when it comes to Arsenal, I don't see consistency. That's all there is. I think about the only times that the pitch side monitors have been used this season, and I'm racking my brain. I think it's only been twice, and both of those times it was an Arsenal match. And both of those times it upgraded a yellow card to a red card, and I don't think it really needed to be done so. And I look at those scenarios and I think, okay, whilst I don't like to believe in conspiracy theories, I believe the Earth is round. I believe 9/11 was not an inside job. All those types of things. I don't believe in these conspiracy theories. It's hard not to think that there is some kind of agenda against Arsenal. And I don't really know why. Is it because we played fantastic football better than everyone else? And Arsene Wenger was a pioneer? Maybe. Is it because we had the best player in the Premier League, Thierry Henry? Maybe. I don't know. And it could just be that people are jealous of us. Simple as that.
Can I add one thing to that? Yeah, one thing I wanted to add. The refereeing decisions are poor, but United seem to be on one end of it. That is the higher end of getting everything in their favor from poor refereeing decisions. And Arsenal seems to be at the bottom end of everything. And why is that? And why can't we complain about it? Because, I mean, some people say that we are being soft. I saw it on Twitter. If you're complaining about the decisions rather than just brutalizing and pointing all the fingers at our own players, you are being soft, Arsenal fans. That was going around on Twitter because you're blaming for a mistake. Yeah.
You're totally right. I mean, just sort of on a, obviously Sam likes his statistics, but I mean, one statistic that won't be any record of is, for example, the game against Brighton. Their guy in midfield who won man of the match did about 10 fouls, didn't get one yellow card in that game. 10 fouls, one player made, right? We're bottom of the fair play league for most yellow cards and most red cards, and we make the least tackles. How does that work? If there's not,
don't you realise? Don't you realise that everything you guys are saying is still fully explained by poor refereeing
refereeing
decisions.
decisions.
Why
Yeah.
are we bottom?
Poor
Why are we
refereeing
bottom of the fair
decisions.
play league?
Because that's where we are. There's someone has to be. Someone has to be.
We make the least tackles. We make the least tackles in the whole league.
Yeah, but it could be someone else. There's no agenda saying,
No,
FA, the FA goes, listen, we have to make sure Arsenal gets all these.
It would be correlated with, if you make a lot of tackles every game, you're probably going to get more cards. If you make least tackles in a game, you should get less cards.
But how do you know what? But again, what about the severity of the tackles?
Well,
what about the severity of the tackles?
So that Brighton guy made 10 tackles or fouls. He gave away 10
but listen,
fouls.
you're talking about tackles. Every tackle is not the same, is it?
No, of course it's not the same. No, but what I mean is, in terms of foul, right? A referee, if one player...
How do you know that our tackles are not harder than others?
Johnny Evans back with Lacazette's Achilles last other night. Back literally no protection.
Those statistics, you can't look at those statistics because the tackles, it's like the tackles can be very different. You're just looking at one number, tackles, but okay, what kind of tackles? What kind of situation? The severity of them. Was it foul play? Was it not foul play?
It's a numbers game, isn't it? It's surely a numbers game. Like,
I can show numbers that show there's no agenda.
No, but what I'm saying, I'm not saying it's an agenda. What I'm saying is, if there's a team in the Premier League that commit the most fouls, right? They should be top or near the top of, or bottom, as it turns out, of the fair play league, right? Because they're committing the most fouls. We aren't committing the most fouls, but yet we're bottom of the league because we're getting the most cards. Our players are being.
Is every foul a card? Is every foul a card?
Of course, every foul's not a card. No, but it's
no. So how do you know what kind of? That's what I'm saying. How do you know what kind of fouls they are? How do you know?
Statistically, if we make 10, we get 8 cards. If Liverpool
but you can't.
they get 1 card. So that doesn't make sense statistically, does it?
But it could be a fact that they're just different tackles. They're not card tackles.
But surely if we make a low volume of fouls, they get a high.
So that's for what, this season, yeah?
Yeah, I'm guessing.
Okay, so let's have a look at that stat for every season then.
But we get a higher volume of cards. That would suggest that there's less leniency for the tackles that we make.
Exactly.
But still no evidence of an agenda because it could be different types of tackles.
Listen, yeah,
if you could put up that statistic for all the previous 10 seasons, and we're the bottom, constantly at the bottom, then I might start to agree with you.
But then surely by your argument, we just make the worst tackles every season because that would justify.
No, because I'm saying if that's consistent over not just now, but I'm talking about consistency now, right? If that goes back like 10 years and we're at the bottom of that table for 10 years, then I might say there's something there. But I guarantee
because according to you,
what difference that makes?
Different, and we might make 10 tackles in a game and 8 of them.
So now you're making my argument for me then. You're making my argument for me.
What I'm saying to you is, according to your argument, if we go back 10 years, it doesn't.
Yeah, but you're making my argument for me. So if we go back 10 years, it's okay. If we use this year, it's not okay.
No. What I'm saying is,
that's what you're saying.
Whether we go over 10 years or not, according to you, not every foul is a yellow card.
Yeah, but you just said right now, statistically, that has to make sense, right? And I would agree statistically. For me, you're talking about one season, right? For me, that's not enough data. That's not enough data for me. For an agenda. That's this season, right? Now, if you add more data, let me finish. If you add more data, you go back 5 seasons or 10 seasons, and if we're consistently at the bottom for 5 seasons or 10 seasons, then I might tend to agree with you, Richard.
No, but then Sam will say that's history. Sam will say that's history. Don't go back into
No. Listen. No. Don't go down that street. That's not right. You know that's not right. No.
No, you always say that. I'm saying it in a fun way. I'm saying it in a fun way.
Listen, Richard. For now, what you're saying. Listen, I'm saying because this is one season. For me, that can be a coincidence. It can be a coincidence. It's just happened that way, right? But listen, the more consistently it happens over time, then it becomes less of a coincidence. That's what I'm trying to say.
Exactly, and it's happened more over time for a whole season of us
Yeah,
making.
I'm talking for more than a season. We've got to look over more than a season, because then you're talking. Because for an agenda, you got to go longer than just a few games this season. We've got to look back in time. Is it consistently happening to Arsenal? You know, it's not.
Fair enough. No, I accept that. But at this moment in time, at this particular moment in time, this season, which is 34 games old now, right? Almost a
but we should have a. But before I would like to do to agree with you on what you're trying to say. Listen, if I was to agree with you on this season, what I would need to do is I need to look at all those tackles and see what they were like.
Well,
and see,
see what they're like.
and then compare, and then look at the other teams, and try and compare and see where the inconsistencies are. Listen,
we can compare this now. Compare Tuesday night Eddie Nketiah's to the Burnley.
No, you can't just go for one tackle. You can't go for one tackle, mate. Come on.
Gary Cahill's one for Crystal Palace the other week. Exactly the same tackle. No red card, right? Eddie Nketiah,
different referees.
No, but you're comparing the force of the tackle. You're comparing the severity of the foul, right?
Yeah, because a human being. There's a human being standing there making a decision there and then, and that human being has to make a decision. He's not a machine.
Because it's Arsenal. It's
not a machine.
As Adam said, to punish Arsenal more severely, and that's been this season. We've got the facts to prove it. That's been a more consistent thing. That referees
we have maybe. If you want to talk about severity of our punishments, okay, we can maybe have the most severe punishments according to the fouls. Okay, but where's the agenda?
Surely that is an agenda.
Why is that an agenda?
What reason is there for them to do that then? What reason is there for us to be treated more harshly?
But other teams have been treated harshly as well.
Not as harshly as us.
There's always going to have to be some team at the bottom of that table, like I'm saying. If it happens consistently, after several seasons.
Usually the team at the bottom is a team that's making the most tackles and committing the most fouls. They're normally the team that's bottom of the fair play. Usually they are. Or they're round about the bottom, usually. Team bottom of the fair play league is never the team that commits the least fouls. Never. It never has been before.
But it's not. The correlation you're going for is not always consistent. It's not always a 1-to-1 correlation. It's not.
So I wanted to ask the question again, as Richard mentioned, the Aubameyang tackle. Aubameyang went in. He just caught him at the wrong place. He was a bit late. And a couple of weeks later, I think there was a similar foul. Aubameyang got a red card. He got a 3-match ban. The other player didn't get a red card. Okay, you are saying it's a poor refereeing decision. Okay, why can't the FA then ban him at least for a game, if not for 3? Next thing is. Next thing is
but that's the poor decision making, which I've been talking about the whole time.
Come on, how can you blame that the FA is also making poor decisions?
Because they're human beings. They're making poor decisions. We were just saying they're covering for the referees. They're covering for the referees. That's what we've been saying. If you want to talk about an agenda, I would gladly start looking at an agenda of the FA covering up the referees. For me, that's much more of an agenda than an agenda against Arsenal. Is the FA covering their own arses?
Yes, I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, I mean, if there's an agenda, there's two. For me, if you want to talk about agendas, if I, in my opinion, there's two agendas. You've got the agenda of the FA consistently covering up their own arses for referees, and that's happening against all teams, not just us.
I agree with that.
I mean, they're always, like you said, with VAR not looking at things because they want to protect the referee, probably many times, and then you've got the FA panel afterwards, the post-match review, not bothering to take things, where they should be taken because they want to protect the referee. Listen, that for me is far more of an agenda because they're actually protecting their own. That is an agenda. And then I would also say this whole thing about Man United getting penalties. They're getting 18 penalties, where Arsenal have got 7 or something in the last 3 years or whatever. For me, that's far more of I would call that a Manchester United agenda. I'm saying the FA, obviously, yesterday Bruno Fernandes turns around, falls down and stamps on an Aston Villa player's ankle, and he gets a penalty. I mean, for me, that's absolutely ridiculous. No overturning that at all. I mean, it's ridiculous. For me, that's a Manchester United agenda, and that's something we've been talking about as fans. No, let me finish. Let's finish. That's something Manchester United fans. I mean, of course, they won't talk about it. But the thing is, all other fans, not just Arsenal fans, but all other fans are talking about it as well. There must be some kind of agenda for them to get all those penalties, because they're getting 18 penalties. They have 12 penalties now for the last three seasons. It's ridiculous when it comes to penalty decisions. For me, that seems like there's an agenda for Manchester United, not an Arsenal agenda.
But you agree that all those decisions go in the same way as an agenda, but all the decisions go in the same way against Arsenal.
Because it's such a huge anomaly. It's such an outlying anomaly. It's 18 penalties versus it could just be a coincidence. The thing is, it could just be a coincidence, but for me, when it's 18 penalties, that's such an outlying number. That's such an unusual outlying figure. For me, it sort of rings alarm bells.
Yeah, what I was trying to say is, if Sam accepts the fact that there is a Manchester United agenda, then it directly links it to the Arsenal one, because Manchester United is.
Don't put words in my mouth.
As I said, let me finish. If Manchester United is at one end of the poor decisions that are coming in, Arsenal is at the opposite end. So if you accept that it is a Manchester United agenda, then in some ways you are saying that there is an agenda, and that works for Manchester United in one way and it works for Arsenal in the opposite way.
I'm saying that there might not be an agenda. I'm saying if he was going to try and entertain the thought of an agenda, it makes more sense looking at that type of thing. When all you're talking about with Arsenal, for me, it's poor decision making. It's coincidental. Unfortunately, as Arsenal fans, we feel hard done by. But as Arsenal fans, you're not looking objectively at all the other games that happen every season, everything that goes on in every game. You can't make that comparison. As Arsenal fans, in the games we watch, we've got some tough decisions against us, and we feel we get hard done by. I'm sure you talk to every other fan, they're going to say the same thing about their team. They get hard done by. Yesterday, Mourinho went off on one. Yesterday, Spurs fans feel hard done by. Not that we care about that, but I'm saying other teams. I agree.
At some moments through a season, every single team as fans will feel that they've been hard done by, right? Of course they will throughout the season. But what doesn't happen is it doesn't happen as often. Other team fans
we don't know that
as often as we do.
We don't know that. We don't know that.
With social media, we do know that.
The only reason
social media is a statistic for that.
The only reason we don't. Hold on.
The only reason on the social media. Yeah,
the only reason we don't know that, or we not assuming that, is because we're not directly involved with any of the other clubs. So when we're watching other teams play, we're not emotionally invested in those other teams. So we wouldn't care less. We wouldn't be looking at every decision that goes against them. But because we're emotionally invested in Arsenal, every decision that goes against us is emotionally heightened for us because we're emotionally invested. We're not emotionally invested in the other teams.
Exact point.
No, exactly. We're not. But yet, we all know, for example, that Manchester United have constantly over the years benefited from all these other decisions, not just this season, going back to Alex Ferguson's time and everything like that, right? And then before that, Liverpool used to get penalties every single game at Anfield when they were losing, when they needed a penalty in the 70s and 80s, right? So these other teams have been favoured, right? When they were the top teams, they were favoured. When we were the top team, going back to 2004, we wasn't favoured.
Yes, we was.
Even when we won the league, when we won the double.
Oh, come off it. Yes, we were.
When have we ever been favoured? You tell me.
It's very subjective what you're saying, Richard. It's very subjective. It's from what you feel. You've got to look at objective data, mate.
The only reason it wasn't made a big rant at that point because social media wasn't as alive as right now it is.
Stop banging on about social media, Christ's sake.
Just because you don't watch games and you don't follow social media a lot doesn't mean
I watch games, mate. I don't have to follow Twitter to see what's going on.
Every wrong decision.
So what you're saying?
It is there on my.
Let him talk.
Yeah, what I was saying is, if it was live, like, or on social media, like today it is, every decision, wrong decision is there. You can find it on Twitter trending. You can find it on Facebook. If you are following any football on social media, you will have that decision in front of you. People will be trolling the referees. It is very clear. The other thing is, it was only not highlighted during those times because we were winning games. Now, when we go and analyze the season and how things were wrong at that point as well, we can see that there were a lot of errors which we highlight now. At that point of time, obviously we were winning, so we were not that much into it. But
Exactly.
people would have obviously spoken about it when we got, our players got the ban and all those things were happening, and United players didn't get the ban. One more thing I just want to add with respect to United. Again, I'm saying that they are getting a lot of decisions in their favors. And one more thing, smaller clubs playing, obviously you expect that at times the level of refereeing will not be the same. But when big games are happening, we are also not getting our decisions in our favor, when you expect the best of referees in England to be actually watching those games and actually being officiating those games. How can we get so many bad decisions against a team like Leicester, where the ball is actually changing direction, it's getting deflected, and they're saying it's not an offside?
It's not getting deflected.
I mean,
Anyway.
what we need to do as well is to remember, going back, and I know it's before my time, before all of our time, in the 1930s, when Arsenal were winning the league every year, Arsenal were known throughout the country as Lucky Arsenal, right? We were winning games 8-0, 9-0 regularly, right? We were scoring the most goals ever. We were constantly called Lucky Arsenal by the media. That was all anyone had to go on, and that stuck, right? That tag has stuck with Arsenal all the way through. Every time we win something, we're lucky, right? 1-0 to the Arsenal, we're lucky, right? We've never been appreciated by the media and subsequently by everybody else, because the media influences everything. We've never been appreciated for what we are, because we'll always have this tag of Lucky Arsenal. It's been going on for 60, 70 years, right? And the media now, and over the last 25 years since Wenger come in, should have changed that attitude, right? They should have done, because Wenger changed the way that we played football. Under George Graham, occasionally we were lucky. I think we can all admit that, right? But the perception of Arsenal is Arsenal are lucky, and Arsenal don't deserve the success they've had. That's the impression that the media give to the rest of the football world. We know that's not true, but that's the impression the media gives. So fans of other clubs still say to us, lucky Arsenal, oh, same old Arsenal always cheating, right? That's the biggest song that other clubs fans sing to us, right? Because that's the perception that they've been given by the media for years, that Arsenal cheat, Arsenal are lucky, Arsenal don't deserve any success.
I disagree. I disagree with you.
Sing that about all teams. All teams.
Richard,
all teams sing that.
Richard, I disagree with you. I disagree with you wholeheartedly, for the simple fact being that when we were invincible, when we were winning, when we had that team, right, we got so much praise from the media. We got constantly, the media was saying Arsenal are playing the best football in the country. We were getting so much praise. The reason why we're getting so much stick now from the media, and I believe it's rightly so, because we set a standard in being invincible. We set a standard, and we've fallen so far from that standard that we're rightly criticised, because we're nowhere near that level. But when we were on top, right, we were getting praise left, right, and centre. Every game I was watching on telly, on the radio, listening to news reports, it was, oh, look at Arsenal, they are brilliant. They listen, the way they just cut through teams, and we cut through teams. We were getting the praise back then, like Man City were getting when they romped home with the league, and same with Liverpool. We were getting the same praise when we were invincibles.
Why then now are the media look back on the Invincibles and say they drew too many games? They wasn't as good as they were made out to be, right? Why did Liverpool go 30 years without winning the league? It was never mentioned. We go 5 years without winning the league. We're in a crisis. Liverpool went 30 years. That was never mentioned in the media. The media never picked up on that. Man United had gone 26 years before they won the Premier League, right? They wasn't criticised the media constantly, eh?
Richard, I listen. I agree with your sentiment, and I love your passion. But you've got nothing to base that on. You haven't read. There's so many things. How do you know all media coverage has been like that? How do you know that?
Because I've experienced it. I've experienced it for the last 40 years.
media coverage. You've read every single newspaper. You've read every
don't have
single
to-
article.
You don't. It's not just. You don't have to read everything. It's like you don't have to watch every single
What you
media
read,
channel.
what you read, you interpret that way, right? But what about, there's so much other stuff that's written as well. How do you know it's all negative?
Well, because no, I'm not saying it's all negative. What I mean is the negativity is what other people's perception, other teams' perception, other fans' perception of Arsenal is. It's not our perception because we know the truth, right? But other fans, if you speak to other fans, I've even had arguments and discussion with people who say, "Oh, the Arsenal Invincibles weren't all that good because they drew a lot of games." Well, I'm sorry,
But that's their opinion.
It's Liverpool.
Yeah, that's their
opinion. Adam was in a debate on that not long ago, and it's people's opinions, right? It's their opinion.
No, it's an opinion that's when you've heard people in the media, people on social media say Arsenal Invincibles drew too many games, right? Then most people think, oh, there must be some truth in that then because it's been said 50 times. But it's just someone's opinion that they just shout a bit louder than someone else. Doesn't make it right.
Do you know what, Richard?
We're still unbeaten. No one's ever going to take that from us.
You're getting confused with what people say on social media and what's broadcast by the professional media.
No.
Yeah, you are, because now you're just saying that.
I've worked in the professional media. I've worked in the professional
I have
media.
not seen
I know how it works.
anything. The professional media have not slated the Invincibles. They have not slated the Invincibles. Yeah, people on social media have.
They've negatively compared it to this Liverpool team.
They've got an opinion that Liverpool teams and Chelsea teams and even that United treble team were better. That's their opinion.
Yeah.
That's their opinion, isn't it?
And to be fair...
Can we find out what Kevin thinks? He hasn't said anything yet.
I've got a big coming in.
I was just like digesting. But, yeah, guys, after seeing all the arguments and stuff, yeah, I think I just caught up with one attention what Jonathan was mentioning. As everybody mentioned, there's an agenda and stuff like this and all this. Yeah, I agree. At one point of time for Arsenal, there was an agenda. But after dissecting a few things related to like recent terms of football and stuff, because you guys remember Howard Webb and how he reacted with Arsenal, openly admitting that he's a Manchester United fan. But coming to that also, that was the only part of agenda I can see. Because like Sam mentioned, agenda has to be a consistent thing. It has to be like going on year in, year out, and then we can call it, yeah, that's a bloody agenda. It's not like a one season wonder. But on the flip side of
a long time ago, the 1930s was a long time ago. So it has been going on for a long time, 70 years.
Let Kevin finish.
Yeah.
Come on.
And coming to that also, another thing, but many of you guys, I think Jonathan is the one of them that pulled up this point. Jonathan Potter. So big up Jonathan Potter. He mentioned that the agenda is with the foreign players and the Britons, local British players, because they are overly protected right now. And if you notice that many of the British players are being overly protected and overhyped, foreign players are not giving the perfect attention. They are every time being victimized. You get to see like Eden Hazard was mostly fault. Thierry Henry was fault. All of them were fault. But all the British players, you just see if let's say Jamie Vardy didn't meet the cross and he scored against Arsenal. If he didn't meet and some other guy met it, maybe not a British player, and he scored it, he'll be called offside. And all of us won't be even having this debate right now. But since he's an English player, he's an England represent, so he's given up all the picking in the past and all this. That's what happened with Harry Kane. That's what happened with all this. Jermaine Defoe, another one. Darren Bent, another one. James Beattie, Sean Wright-Phillips. So there's a lot of players, a lot of British players are often like, they are not given this. Every time the agenda purpose is every time coming to the British players. But when it comes to foreign players, they are not given the protection they deserve. Because one thing and foremost, they are too good at the ball. And the only way to like bring them down and to stop their performance level and all this. So why aren't we talking about that? Because that's the main thing. Reason, and then when you put into context, why Arsenal why every one of us, we feel like Arsenal is having an agenda, the referee is having an agenda against us and stuff like this. It's because back then, it all makes perfect sense. Because back then, Manchester United, when they they had the battle of the buffet that time, with so many players getting suspended at Arsenal and all this. Yeah, It all comes into context. You just imagine how many English players were representing Manchester United that time and how many French players were in that Arsenal squad that time. There was hardly any English players in that Arsenal squad. And how many players of Arsenal got suspended for bloody 8 games or 7 games or something like that. And each Manchester United players receive a ban of 3 to 4 games, or some of them even retired with that. But that's the thing. That's why I see, okay, that one you can clearly say that's an agenda. Because how can a Manchester United player just gets in about 3 or 2 match ban and Arsenal players get up to 8 match ban? So that's an agenda over there, because that resembles the Tottenham and Chelsea classic, whereby a lot of the last minute brawl and all this. Yeah, it resembles that. But that's the agenda I see in it. It's actually protecting the English players, the British players, and just like taking advantage of all the foreign players. So that's where I see the agenda in it. Because coming to the point also, all clubs are going to face like decisions. Because let's be honest here, VAR is still in a working progress. There are bound to be mistakes. You are not going to get it perfect right at the start. So they just started it. So we have to give them time to like adapt. They're going to be mistakes. So just because of inconclusive decisions, 2 or 3 or maybe 5, you can put even 10 over there as well also. Because if we are right topping up the charts with a lot of refereeing errors and VAR propaganda and stuff like this, yeah, we can tell that there's an agenda. But we are in the top 5. So top 5, I don't see where the agenda is coming from. And Manchester United, that one is an agenda. How the hell can they have 13 or 14 penalties in one season? That's beyond
18.
me.
18.
Yeah, 18 penalties this season. It's mad. It's mad. That's an agenda, because you can clearly see. And Manchester United had this like a lot of favoritism. They are a massive club. They are a massive pull and stuff. So we get that, you know, the Fergie time.
Jesus Christ,
Fergie time, everything. That was an agenda. That you can say is an agenda. But other than that, you don't see like Arsenal. The reason we are being scapegoated most of the time with controversial VAR and refereeing decision is because we are a massive pull. We are a massive club. Other clubs seem to have the same problem, but why isn't being hyped off? Because they are a smaller club. They don't have a massive pull. So that's why who's going to report about that? So let's all talk about Arsenal, because that's where, because they know our fans are kind of like reactionary. Because if you're going to comment about like Sheffield United going in with a worse VAR decision and all this, you don't go and see 100 or 200 Sheffield fans are going to start a protest and telling VAR out, fuck VAR and stuff like this. Sorry for the language, but you don't see Sheffield United fans going to do that. But Arsenal fans, on the flip side of things, they tend to bring it up. But yeah, a consistent thing is you mentioned most of my points, Sam. So I'm just adding up to that actually. So that's the thing. VAR has to be upgraded in the next few years. Certain decisions have to be corrected in a way, and also on the thing also for moving forward as well. We just cannot be blaming we have to be admitting to ourselves that our club isn't good enough as well, because we can't be blaming refereeing decision. We have to take that into consideration. We can't be like putting refereeing decision, because if you're going to keep on complaining to refereeing decision, that's not going to bring us anywhere. So might as well we just have to focus on our things right now, how we perform as a team. Put the refereeing decisions aside first, because it affects everybody. Whether it affects us 10%, 15%, or 100%, nobody gives a damn, because you can't overturn the decision and stuff. Okay, so that's my take on it.
Can I quickly come in?
Yeah, sure. Sorry,
because Adam's got to go quickly. So
yeah.
Adam, go on,
a few words and then. Yeah.
No. So I mean, again, I've heard what everyone has to say, and I think while I do think it's difficult to prove that there is something against Arsenal, I still think there's something there. But as Sam's kind of alluded to, I think it would be interesting to see like a more in-depth study about like over time who's got the most decisions, and I guess as VAR continues in like different seasons, we'll be able to compare statistical data, and then we can really like come to the bottom of it. But for now, come on, got to support Arsenal and tell you that there's bias. Has to be that.
Of course we feel hard done by. Of course we do. Of course we feel hard done by. Of course. Yeah.
All right. So, yeah. Thank you, guys. See you later.
Yeah. Cheers, Adam. Nice to see you.
Cheers, Adam. Cheers, Adam.
Anyway, I just want to follow up, just for a second, to follow
I
up.
want to
Kevin.
follow up first.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Okay, Nitesh. Go on, Nitesh. Go on. Go on.
The first thing is, when I said the same thing with Jonathan Potter and Kevin agrees to yesterday, you guys were having a laugh at it, that the British media does protect the English players. And
No, I agree.
We were having this debate backstage yesterday when I was trying to say.
No, but I didn't say anything on that. But I agree. I do think the English players get protected
I wasn't
too
even
much.
here.
I'm not
I agree
getting
they get protected too much. Yeah.
But one thing I would like to take from that thing is, with respect to that, because maybe we are not. It has been seen in the past that Arsenal players do not get selected for the English national side, even if they are actually good enough to be there. That is one more thing. Second thing is, that is why this is one more factor why a team like Manchester United, Liverpool, and even to some extent maybe this season you can say Leicester has been getting the benefit of the doubt when we haven't been getting the benefit of the doubt, because probably they have some players who are representing England in the national squad and will be for them in the Euros. So I can relate that bit to the same thing a bit there, because we have not gotten any decisions. If you see, like, out of the eight bad decisions that we have got, it would have probably propelled us into the top four. As I was saying, we have players of other nationalities who have, like as I said yesterday, Aubameyang as well. If that was Vardy doing this, putting in the same tackle that Aubameyang put against Crystal Palace, he wouldn't have received a red card. And even if he got probably a red card, it would have been overturned in the appeal. And I said this again, that there is somewhere the FA is favoring Vardy because he's also a contender for the Golden Boot, and they want an Englishman to be there right at the top. Now Danny Ings has come into that picture as well, but they are also trying to protect Vardy, that he does not fall out of the contention for the Golden Boot, because if they give him a 3-match ban, his Golden Boot race is probably all but done.
Just before we move on, something Richard touched on the other night, and it's been touched on in the chat as well.
Yeah.
If there's no agenda, why are we in the entire history the only team to have a points deduction for a brawl on the pitch?
Why can't that be a coincidence?
Because there's been worse behaviour since. That set the precedent, right? If you behave badly on the pitch, we're going to deduct points from you as a punishment, yeah. So that to stop other teams doing it. Since then, other teams have done just the same or worse.
Yeah, but it's not the same. It's not the same people who've made the same decisions, though. It's different people have come in and looked at it differently.
And can I say one more thing? One more thing with respect to Kevin's point. He said that we are complaining because we are losing. No, we are not complaining because we are losing points or because we lost a game. We were against Lacazette performing. His performance was poor in that game. Never. I didn't say no, or I think most of the people on the panel criticized him then and there for that. We said Nketiah probably deserved a red card and he got a red card. We didn't complain about that. But we complained about the fact that Vardy's decision was not even, there was no real action against it. And the second one was probably the goal. The main talking point was the goal. I am not saying that Leicester probably wouldn't have scored the goal. They probably would have. But the thing is, why are they being gifted goals when it was not a goal? It was not supposed to be a goal.
Well, that's very contestable, their goal. There's, the ball doesn't change trajectory. It has to change trajectory. It doesn't. Anyway, that's a whole different discussion. I'm not bothering to discuss that. The thing is, when it comes to the points thing, listen, different boards are coming later, different committees. They've made different decisions. Yeah, the decisions are poor. It's still down to people, human beings, making poor decisions. Points have been deducted in many other leagues for similar things. When it comes to the Premier League, it's much harder for them to do it because it has such huge consequences in the Premier League. There's a lot more money involved, etc. Blah blah blah. It's much more difficult for them to do it. But again, it's down to people not doing their jobs correctly. It's not, for me. It's not an agenda. It's just people doing their job poorly. Yeah. And then when it comes to when we win a game, we complain a lot less. We just do it. It's just facts. If we have bad decisions in a game, if we've won the game, it's like, oh, that decision was a bit shit. That could have happened. That could happen. But we won the game. So, it's okay. So we don't have to really worry about it. And at the end of the day is what many other people have been saying as well. I've been reading all over the place. And I think Kevin can agree with me here as well. And that is, Lacazette. Why we're pinning all this on the FA and VAR and the referee when Lacazette had 2-3 clear goal chances he missed. Why is it so easy for us to blame referees in the FA in games, we should have won. You know, it's
how does that justify a wrong call by the referee?
because we would have won the game. If we would have won the game, this wouldn't be such a big deal. It wouldn't have been a 1-1, such a telling outcome. If we'd have won the game 3 or 4-1, we wouldn't be worried. We wouldn't be sitting here. We wouldn't.
It would still be. If it is
we
a
wouldn't
wrong
be
call, it
sitting
would
here.
still be talked
Nitish,
about.
we wouldn't
What
be
are you,
sitting here.
Nitish? What are you saying is the wrong call? Because you're talking about Vardy's tackle, right?
No, I'm talking about the one where it hit Jose Perez on the foot and it the ball changes the rotation. Any
It doesn't
touch
change
or
the
any,
trajectory.
it doesn't change
I'm
the
not talking about that.
trajectory. Why are you not talking about? Why are you running away when I'm trying to bring up the proper point?
Bullshit.
Why? Why?
It's bullshit.
What's bullshit?
Bullshit. The ball doesn't change trajectory.
If the player
It doesn't
touches
change
it, it
trajectory.
changes the rotation. It's an offside.
It's not trajectory.
Even if he tries to play it, an active active player in offside position is offside. Even if he doesn't touch the ball, that's the new rule. That's the new rule. This is not the old rule. This is the new rule.
It didn't change the trajectory of the ball.
If
Anyway,
it doesn't,
so
he changes the trajectory and he touches it.
So anyway, there is a comment on the screen I put up here that Jonathan's put up, and I'll put it out to you guys. He's saying, I did think years ago when David Dean worked in the FA, he rubbed a few of the old farts at the FA when he obviously worked there, when he left. And he does wonder if that had an influence going forward since then.
I remember the opposite from the David Dean being part of the FA days. I remember a lot of fans from other teams saying that we got a lot of favourable decisions from referees because he was on the FA board. I remember that very clearly. We were accused of that by many different fans. You know, David Dean's on the FA board, and he has influence on the committee that overturns decisions and everything. And we had at that time we did have decisions overturned in our favour. And I remember fans going against us saying, "Oh, that's the David Dean influence in the FA." I remember that clearly.
David Dean was also on the board in that era, in them few years where obviously the 03, 04 and 04, 05 at Old Trafford, the incidents there, both incidents, we were both punished. Mm-hmm. We got bigger punishments, like as in more players got punished.
But he was also on the board when we had things in our favour.
But what I'm saying is, I'm balancing the thing where it weren't just always. You can't. People can't say it's all we had all the everything go our way. Clearly didn't. He didn't have an influence.
For the Old Trafford thing, we got a very harsh decision against us. And
that's what I'm trying to balance out.
But the thing is, we also got a lot of stick from other fans from when we had other decisions before that overturned in our favour. Then I remember fans clearly going against us. I remember people talking to me about it. It's you guys are getting favoured because you got Dean on the board. You know,
and
so
also the Old Trafford
wasn't talking about an agenda. That wasn't talking about an agenda then.
And also the Old Trafford thing. It was an English player that got sent off. It wasn't a foreign player.
What game was that? Because we got sent off.
When Martin Keown got sent off in the 03-04 season.
That was Vieira. Keown was part of the.
Keown was sent off as well, wasn't he? He was sent off.
No, Keown was banned. All Scholes was banned. Keown was banned. Scholes was banned. Ryan Giggs was banned.
But also,
Keown was banned, wasn't he? What was Keown?
He got post-match ban. He got the post-match ban.
All post-match, all after the match.
But what I'm trying to say is that it wasn't just foreign players that got banned. Like English players got banned as well. Which
yes, Daniel. Yeah, but the thing here is the ban, if you were to look at it, the foreign players got the longest ban compared with the English players. Because Ashley Cole was banned for 3 games, Paul Scholes was for 4 games, and the highest for all English players were 4 to 5 games. Instead, for Arsenal players, it went up to 8 games. So I don't find the reason behind that. Why should it be Arsenal players having up to an 8-game ban, and Manchester United players were having up to about 5 to 4 match ban? It doesn't make any sense. It's a brawl.
No, to be fair, I think Keown got the longest ban because he was the biggest instigator, which he probably deserved the longest ban. And Keown
did.
But yeah, I mean, I think some of the English players did maybe get less of a ban than some of the foreign players involved. I mean, I think Lauren was one of the ones involved for us, got a long ban, didn't he, as well? I mean, I'm not sure about the foreign player, English player thing. Eddie Nketiah, bearing in mind, is the English player who got badly treated the other night. So I'm not necessarily convinced by the foreign player, English player argument. I think at times the English players have been let off bans so that they can play for England in qualifying games or tournaments sometimes. I think that's probably has happened to a point, yes. I'm not necessarily sure that's been a massive issue overall. Maybe it has, I don't know, but it doesn't strike me as being the case. I think English players have been banned just as much, for what they've done. It seems to be more the club they play for in terms of Manchester United players tend to get off a little bit more lightly than, say, our players, for example, regardless of what nationality they are. I think I think everything that Sam said and everything that Daniel's said as well, I do agree with. I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I don't also agree with the fact that Arsenal do seem to be more harshly treated on a lot of occasions in respect to very similar incidences to other clubs. And not just now, this has been going on for quite a long time. And also I believe that the media have particularly been more negative towards Arsenal consistently for a long time. And that's not to say that, they've never praised us, because of course we've got praise at times, but our praise has never been on the same level that, say, the praise Liverpool get. Our criticism is always a lot more stronger than the criticism that other teams get in the media in general. Not 100% obviously, but in general, that's the way that it's always been portrayed, that Arsenal's bad times are criticised a lot, and Arsenal's good times are not praised as much as other clubs in the same situations.
But don't you think? Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, Liverpool dominated the league in the 80s. They then went 30 years without winning the league. Very rarely was that made a big deal out of in the media. Arsenal went unbeaten that season, and we haven't won the league for 16 years, but virtually every single year since then, there's been a lot made of the fact that we haven't won the league or we're not there. Liverpool finished 8th two or three seasons, 8th, 7th, 2 or 3 seasons in a row not that long ago. They wasn't considered a club in crisis. Jurgen Klopp wasn't put under pressure because he'd finished 8th in the league, was he? If Arteta did this season, or maybe not this season because I'm just coming, if next season, if we finish 7th or 8th, the media will be pushing for Arsenal fans to want Arteta out, and they'll be pushing that agenda through. They didn't push it through on Klopp when Liverpool were in a similar position, did they? And they've done this previously.
That was Klopp's first season, wasn't it? Klopp's first season. And
yeah, well,
he greatly improved.
Next season,
Richard.
Yeah, we'll have to see what they do.
Richard as well, right? You have to understand that although Liverpool in the global brand are probably a bigger club than Arsenal, you have to understand that although you're saying that they haven't won it for 30 years and it wasn't made a big deal of it, it was made more of a deal for us because we were a more successful club. We were up there. Even if we weren't winning the titles, we were competing for years on end against Man United, right? It was just us and Man United. Because we were so successful, a lot was expected of us because we were so successful. And the way we just fell off the perch, it was made more of a big deal because success was expected of us, whereas Liverpool, success wasn't expected of them because they weren't consistently challenging for the titles and stuff as we were. We were constantly challenging for the titles and.
But can I just say,
in the 80s, they won the league nearly every single year. They were consistently successful, and then when they stopped being successful, they wasn't put under any as much pressure from the media as what we were when we stopped becoming successful. They were given a free ride almost. Well, Liverpool have been successful for years. They did, they're going to have a few years without being successful. And I agree with what you said. As soon as we stop becoming successful, as soon as we stop challenging, it's a major crisis. It wasn't a major crisis at Liverpool, and they won the league like 10 times out of about 12 years, didn't they? When Man United. To be fair, Man United have probably took a lot of stick over the last few years since they've dropped right out as well. Probably, although I still don't feel
because
we went
they took a lot of stick for Moyes got a huge amount of stick for not living up to, you know,
yeah,
and then Van Gaal got a lot of stick as well. I mean, they've received a lot of stick the last few years, you know. Anyway, but what I want to touch on is that I think I agree that there can seem to be more of a bias against Arsenal when it comes to the media, and I think that's down to who you've got in the media. I mean, look at all the football shows, who the pundits are. You know, you've got Lineker, he's Tottenham. You've got Carragher and Neville, United and Liverpool. You've got, you know, all these guys. I mean, we've got Wright and Smith for Arsenal, you know, and they always toe Arsenal's line as well when they're talking, you know. But unfortunately, there's far more of the other guys than us, and you know, Shearer for Newcastle and everything. You know, it's you know, of course it's going to seem like it's going against us because they're fans of their teams, and I think we have the same in the sports media as well. You know, there's not many Arsenal fans probably in the sports media who have those positions, writing the more, you know, in the more famous newspapers before and now online. You know, the more famous online. You know, sports articles and everything. You know, it's that they're fans, aren't they? They're going to be writing with a certain bias, aren't they? Even though they shouldn't really, but you know they do. You know it's unfortunate, but that's explained by their bias that they probably have. You know, from who they support and where they come from and things like that. You know. But yeah, when it comes to the media, I think that there is more of an issue there with bias.
And also, don't forget that although Liverpool had not won the league in 30 years, they still won trophies. Don't forget when we went from 2005 all the way up to 2014 without a trophy. Considering the fact that we had been so successful, that's a long time to go without winning a trophy. Whereas Liverpool in that time, they'd won the Champions League, the FA Cup, the Carling Cup. So they were still, you know, although they weren't as successful as us, they were still winning trophies. And criticism was piled on us because we went so long without winning a trophy, from being probably the most successful team in the country at the time, and we were. When we won the FA Cup, we were the most successful team. With the Invincibles and a lot of expectation was put on us. Yes, there wasn't as much expectation with Liverpool because they hadn't just come out of that era that we had, and then we went so long without winning a trophy, and I think that's why the media have put so much negative press against us. And then also since we've started winning the FA Cups, we've not really got back to the heights of what we did back then. You know, we've not really improved. If you're being really brutally honest with yourselves, right? And when you're looking at Arsenal, has a lot changed? Has in the last decade? Has really anything changed? And that's down to the way that the clubs run. And so a lot of the media, the criticism from the media is justified because we've not proven. Like, if we were winning titles and stuff and the media would still be negative, yeah, you could probably say that there's probably biased against us. But everything the media is saying, we're backing it up as a club because, let's be honest, we've been a shambles. So what they're saying, it may be hard to take as Arsenal fans, and it is damn hard to take because I'm an Arsenal fan, you're an Arsenal fan, we're all Arsenal fans here. But wait, if you're being honest with yourself, it's the truth. It is the truth because we've not really backed it up or rectified any of our problems.
No.
Anyway, I just got to jump in. Sorry, I just got to jump in because I have to go. Back to work soon. Listen, if you guys want to continue, of course, just continue. Listen, I just want to say, I really respect your opinions, Richard. You're a real sound guy. It's been really good debating with you. I enjoy it. It's always good fun. You know, it's you make a lot of good points. You know, I really respect your side of everything. You know, and it's been good fun. I think it went a lot better than I thought it would.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, I've enjoyed it as well, and I think
it's been good fun. It's been good fun,
yeah. No, I mean, I'm not saying that I'm right and you're wrong, or the other way around. I think we've all got valid points, and we've maybe got a different perception on certain things, and that's fine. And it's good to have discussions about, isn't it? And at the end of the day, that's what makes the world go round, as it were.
Yeah, and again, listen. It's good to have a good debate like this within our fan base. When we don't agree on things, and it's what makes things interesting, doesn't it? I mean, if everyone's always agreeing on everything, it would be really boring, wouldn't it? I mean, it would be very boring. So, I think this has been great fun. I want to thank everyone, especially Ryan, for putting it together and everything. I want to thank Richard for taking the time to come on. It's been really good, and I just think it's been great fun. It's been really good, and I think we can have many other debates in the future on other things, and we can keep it at a nice, respectable level. And it's been really good, So just overall, just want to say it's been really good, and thanks a lot for having me.
No, definitely. No problem. I've enjoyed it. It's been a pleasure. And I say, it's good to have these. It's good to have these discussions.
And we'll see you again.
Thanks a lot for having me. Yeah, you guys continue, guys, because there's a lot to go there still. So I've got to go anyway. But thanks a lot. I'll see you guys soon.
Cheers, Sam.
Cheers,
Cheers. Cheers, guys. Thanks. Bye
bye. I just really want to pick up on, first of all, what is the point on the screen now about Liverpool only won one League Cup in 13 years, was all they won. And also as well, 2 years ago, Liverpool finished 4th in the league, right? 2 years ago, they finished 4th. And suddenly now, if you listen to the media now, you'd think they're the greatest team ever. They've been the greatest team ever since football began. And they've only had 2 good seasons. Other than that, they were on a par with where we are. 2 years ago, they were on a par where we are. And now they've had a couple of good seasons, and suddenly they're the best thing since sliced bread, and they always have been. And that's the point. If we in the next 2 years, if we do have similar success to Liverpool in the next 2 years, you can guarantee it'll be looked upon, it will be portrayed more negatively in the media than how Liverpool have been portrayed. I mean, I didn't actually realise that they'd only won that one trophy in all them years, actually. I mean, a Liverpool fan said it, so it must be true. I assumed, like yourself, Daniel, that they'd probably won, they have won the Champions League. I know they've got to a few finals that they lost, didn't they? They lost the FA Cup final to Chelsea, and obviously the Champions League finals and stuff like that. So they've been similar to us actually in that same period. In actual fact, haven't they? We've actually won more than them in that time. We've actually won more trophies.
See, while I do think that a lot of what the media are saying is true, and like I said, I back that up with the fact that we have not played to our potential. The one thing I will say, and at the time when the media criticized us for being, when we went from being successful to, obviously we had that trophy drought. The one thing I will say is that now that things are changing at the club, and that we are slowly but surely moving forward in a direction where you can see real change coming at the club. In terms of, we're getting a system and structure in place. At the time, the media printed the story because it was big. It was big at the time because we were successful, and then we went from being successful to pretty much we fell off the perch in big fashion. But the one thing I will say is now the media's trying to hang on to that earlier success with that story, and they're repeating the same story in terms of, like every summer we always get Arsenal are cash strapped. Oh my God, any deal. Do you know what I'm saying? Like we're always the media, and I've noticed this as well, that at the start they were getting a lot. It was a big story, which it was. It was a big story because for year on year we were going, it was all another year, Arsenal no trophy, another year. But now that things are changing, the media are trying to recapture the glory days of when that first when those stories first broke. And listen, I can tell you now that when we are successful, because we will be successful again. Listen, I believe that we will be successful again. And when we are successful, I think the media will be very hard put to print a story like that because it will be against the public mood.
I mean, we say that, but I'm looking back now because I've got a DVD. I was watching DVD last night. The movie they did in 2014 to mark the 10-year anniversary of Invincibles. and how the media tore into Wenger the previous season just because we didn't win the title, we didn't defend our title in the end. We lost out by, I think it was a point or two, and literally goaded him for believing that we could go a season unbeaten. So the media have. So
and we had a good team then as well, didn't we? Because we did the double in 2002. Wenger said he thought we could go unbeaten. The following season, we lost the game to Everton. It was the first one, and the media jumped straight on it, didn't they? And they were trying to make out that he was deluded. He didn't know what he was talking about. Nobody would ever go unbeaten. And then when he come back the following season, and actually did it. I still don't believe that was given the credit it deserves. And even now, 16 years later, it's still not given the credit it deserves, because it's like if Liverpool went unbeaten this season, literally, we would never, ever, ever have heard the end of it. If Man United ever managed to go unbeaten in a season, we will never, ever hear the end of it. And if Spurs ever actually won anything, again, we would never, ever hear the end of it.
Do you know why Liverpool are getting? Do you know why Liverpool are getting more credit? And no. The only reason I say no. Let me tell you why. Yes. Okay, because when we done it, we were competing against Man United, right? And yes, there are other teams in there that we had to watch out for, but it was us and Man United. Those were the two competitors in the league. Now that Liverpool are doing it, and they almost done. They went 43. I think it was 43 games unbeaten or something. 43. And the way they were playing, they're doing it in a completely different era of football, where the Premier League is so open. You've got about 5, 6, even 7 top teams who are all more competitive than they were when we done it. When we done it, and listen, I'm not taking anything away from our achievements, because what we achieved back then, was brilliant. It was absolutely fantastic. But with Liverpool doing it, you think they've got Man City, they've got
But that's all they've got.
I'm going to throw
That's what I've got.
Spurs, Sheffield, teams like that. Okay, yes, they're not. They're more competitive. Teams are more competitive than they were back then. I'm sorry, but you have to say that the league is so much more open than it is back then, than it was back then.
From third place down, I agree. Right, the top two are probably so much further ahead of the rest of the league now than when it was Arsenal, Manchester United. A couple of times, Liverpool sneaked into second place, didn't they, back then? Now, nobody at the moment can break that top two monopoly, right? Because Man City and Liverpool are miles ahead. There's a severe kind of bunch of average teams from third probably down to 15th, 16th. They're all as good as each other and as bad as each other, right? Loads of them, all the same, and they're not very good. They're average teams, but they can beat anybody on their day because they're all the same as each other. But nobody can beat Liverpool or Man City very often. Man City have had a terrible season. Let's get that right this year.
Watford done it. Watford beat Liverpool.
Yeah, Watford did exactly what Watford managed to. One team, and obviously Man City beat them as well last week, but most teams haven't been good enough to even challenge Liverpool. I mean, Liverpool they've won games because they're slightly better than everybody else in the league.
You could even throw Man City into that category, because even Man City fell off the title race.
Yeah, Liverpool didn't have any competition this year, did they? They've won the league because they're the only team that had a consistent level of performance, and nobody else got anywhere near. And when we went unbeaten, yes, it was Manchester United were the main challengers. Liverpool actually finished second that year. There were other good teams that were able to take points off us, but we were just too good to be able to do it. This season, not many teams were good enough to take points off Liverpool. Liverpool were just slightly better than everybody else, and that's why they've won the league so convincingly. And Liverpool, Manchester United, Manchester City last season were miles ahead of everybody else, which is why they both got 90-odd, high 90 points. I mean, when has that ever happened? You might get one team get 90 points very occasionally. Last season, 2 teams got almost 100 points. That's how far ahead they were of everybody else. This season, Liverpool are going to get around about 100 points again. They're miles ahead of everybody else. Not because the league's more competitive. The complete opposite. The league's less competitive. There's only them that are any good. When we went unbeaten, there were probably 6 or 7, 8 decent teams that not that could have won the league, but that were decent teams. There's not decent teams. Sheffield United are challenging for Europe. Sheffield United were in League One 2 years ago. They're not a great team at all. They're organised. They've worked hard.
They are. Listen, I disagree. They are a good team, Sheffield. They are a good team.
They're going to probably get relegated next season. That's how good they are.
And in 2003, 2004.
Listen, they are a good team, Sheffield. Right? To get where they are a good team. You could possibly counter that. You could probably counter that with the fact that teams like Chelsea, Man United, and us, we're being poorer than average than we usually are, which is why we've got in there. Which is why they've got in there. And granted, I'll probably accept. Yeah. I'll accept that to a point. But listen, every team in the Premier League this season is more competitive.
Only with the rest of the average teams they are, because they're all average. Yeah. They're all average teams. Every single team in that league is average, apart from Man City and apart from Liverpool. And Man City have had a terrible season, and they still finish in second. Yeah. And they've been dreadful this season, but they're still miles ahead of everybody else.
And in 2003, 2004, it was Chelsea that finished second.
Sorry, it was Chelsea. You're right. Yes, you're right. It was Chelsea.
They'd only just emerged as a powerhouse because
Liverpool came second in 2002 when we won the double. They Liverpool came second. Yeah. That was it. Yeah, you're right. Sorry.
Because Chelsea won the league in 2005. Yeah, that was the first time they won the league, because I remember that was the year that we won the FA Cup.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And it was us and Man United in the final, and by rights we didn't even. By rights, we didn't even deserve to win that FA Cup, because we were getting battered. We got battered. I remember Rooney hit the post, and the only reason we won that is because Paul Scholes, his penalty against Lehmann was shit, and he saved it. Do you know what I mean?
We were lucky to win that. We were very lucky to win that cup.
That was literal daylight robbery. That match. But
it was daylight. We were awful. That game.
But I'll take it.
Oh yeah, of course, I'll take it. Listen, we did. Do you know what I remember? Do you know what I remember about that game? Right, I'll tell you. Right, it was so funny because I was at an athletics championship tournament with my school at the time, and my best mate at the time is a die-hard Man United fan, and because I lived down in Devon, so the championships was in Birmingham. So I remember the whole journey. He was going, "Oh, United are gonna win. United are gonna win." All through the championship, it was United gonna win. It was literally, I got so much stick, it was unreal, right? And then halfway through the ceremony, because the ceremony for the awards at the Athletics Championships took place right on the FA Cup final day, and I was there. We were dodging the ceremony to listen to the game, and it was, when Rooney hit the post and all that, he was like, "Oh yes, United are gonna win. United are gonna." And then back on the bus, we were waiting to go back home, and we just caught the penalty shootout. And listen, he went from blooming mouthy to bloody silent in about all those penalties that were being taken. And it was just that I'll never ever forget that day, because on the bus on the way home he was so quiet. I was like, "Sir, what happened to this United win then?" And I tell you what, it was one of those be careful what you say kind of moments,
Yeah, it sounds like a great. I mean, I was at that game, and we were lucky. There's no doubt we should have lost about 4-0, but that actually was a decline. That for me, that day, that FA Cup final was the start of the decline of the sort of invincible team, wasn't it? Because we never really got back after that, did we? I think Wenger knew he had to rebuild after that cup final, and he didn't quite manage to pull it off, did he? Really? So
for me, what would have sealed that era off is if we'd have won the Champions League. And I'll tell you something now. Let me tell you something. Right, I don't get. like there's a lot of Arsenal fans, right, that get really, really upset over a defeat. And I'm one of these, like, if it's a defeat, it's a defeat, innit? I'm down for a couple of days, and I'm sort of, and I'm down for a couple of days, and then I just move on. But let me tell you something, right? When we lost that Champions League final, I wouldn't talk to nobody for 4 weeks. I was like, don't even fucking talk to me about football. When Arsenal was mentioned, I was like, I can't talk about it. I literally, even now, right? I always get this fucking churning in my guts because that final, that was just heartbreaking. Do you know what I mean? That was just. I remember. I could. Yeah, listen. That still hurts today. Do you know what I mean? That final.
That's one of the only games that I've never ever watched back the highlights of or anything, because I've just tried to raise it completely. If I remember, that's the only game. If I could change the result of any one game in the history of football, it would be the result of that. That's the one result I would change.
That's the only game. That's the only game that I've ever cried after a loss. I literally like.
I think
bawled my eyes out. I bawled my eyes out like after that game.
I've tried to book it all out. I probably did. I can't remember now. But I mean, you're right. That would finish that off, wouldn't it? That would finish that whole era off properly, wouldn't it? If we'd won that.
I remember because this is my final year of school, right? I literally was just about to leave. I was just about to leave boarding school. And I remember one of the people in charge was like, oh, obviously, after the game finished, they were like, right, you've got to go up to bed now. They had fucking rules and everything. And I was so angry. I wouldn't do what they were telling me. I was like, do you know what? Just don't even talk to me. I even got a fucking detention. Do you know what I mean? I was like, I don't give a fuck, man. Arsenal have lost. I remember getting a detention, and I was just like, Jesus Christ, Arsenal lost, and now I got a fucking detention. That was the only time that I ever took a defeat out on anybody. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just literally that was because we've done so well as well. That whole route, Real Madrid, all we had to do was top it off. We had to top it off. The only time we all potentially fucked it up was against Villarreal in the second leg, where we were dog shit. In that second leg,
we just hung on, didn't we? We hung on in that second leg and got through.
And then Raquelme missed a penalty.
Yeah, that's right.
I remember that.
The last minute as well, wasn't it? Yeah, I mean,
I remember that as well.
That Champions League final, I think, was the sort of the swan song of that invincible team. I know a lot of the players wasn't the same, was they? A lot of the players that played in the Champions League final there's already been a bit of a transition in the team anyway, but that was the last time that we were a great team, wasn't it? That was the last time that we were, and we were shit in the league, weren't we? We were shit in the league. Yeah. We were shitting. I remember that was the 1 year. I was like, why are we shit in the league? But yet the Champions League, we were storming it, and we were, and I was like, if we could just win the Champions League, then it would be our year. Because you remember, it was the year after Liverpool done it, didn't they?
Yeah, that's
right. And I thought, oh my God, we're gonna do it. And I was so confident that we were gonna do it. And then the fucking red card changed the fucking game. Do you know what I mean? The red card, like,
and that was the end of Highbury as well, wasn't it? That was our last season at Highbury.
Yeah, that would have been
the perfect ending, wouldn't it? The perfect ending to that whole era at Highbury. It would have been the right thing to have done. And Barcelona should have let us win. With 10 men, they should have done, because that was the right thing to do. But Barcelona being Barcelona, they decided to win. So
that was a Guardiola side, wasn't it?
No, Frank Rijkaard.
Was it Rijkaard?
Yeah,
Rijkaard. I thought it was Guardiola.
Yeah, Pep came in 2 seasons later.
Yeah, he would have still been playing, wouldn't he? Then
I think he's just about to retire. Yeah, it must have been.
I'm still confident, right? I'm still confident that. If that red card, if Lehmann hadn't got sent off, we would have won that game.
Oh, without
we would have won it.
Dominated them with 10 men.
Yeah, we would have won it.
What I didn't get in that,
I believe we would have won it.
What I didn't get in that final was obviously in that situation. The game went on, and obviously Ludovic Judy scored a goal. So why don't they let the game continue?
Yeah.
1-0 down. We regroup.
Well, to me, he didn't deny them a goal-scoring opportunity because they scored. So it should have been a goal and a yellow card maybe, and carried on with the game. And I think even at 1-0 down with 11 men, I think we would have won as well.
We were the better team. Apart from that one moment, we were controlling that game.
Well, putting Almunia in goal, come on, having to put Almunia in goal. The guy was a clown. And you had to put him in goal for 17 minutes of a Champions League final against Barcelona. Of course, he was never going to hang on. If with Lehmann in goal, we win that game.
Who did they have? They had a good keeper, didn't they have Valdez or something?
Victor Valdez.
I remember he was a great shot stopper because Thierry Henry kept hitting it and scoring, and they just kept stopping it like no tomorrow.
He made some good saves in the second half because we had 3 or 4 chances on the break, didn't we, to seal it?
Lundberg,
Lundberg, I remember Lundberg.
You've had a chance as well, I think, at one point.
Yeah, we should have won that game.
That's the one thing. I'm not fussed about winning. When people say like they want to see us challenging for the title, I don't. I just want to get back in Europe and try and put in a good European run because I want to. That's the only trophy that I'd like us to win. I'm not obviously I'd like us to win the league. I'd like us to win the league, but I kind of feel like if we won it, it will kind of right that wrong of 2006 because that trophy should have been ours. That trophy should have been that had our name on it. I don't care, even though Barcelona won it, that was ours.
It was
that
ours,
was ours, and
we all know it was ours,
and they just nicked it because
they did.
Because Lehmann was fucking stupid. Do you know what I mean? Like he just Jesus Christ.
Almunia was no better. Bloody getting done at his near post twice.
Yeah, I mean,
in 10 minutes.
But Lehmann had a temper, though. Lehmann had a temper, and I said when he started, when we signed him, I remember saying this guy, I said it, and everyone was laughing at me. I said this guy is going to cost us because you could see it the way he was with his goalkeeping. He was a great keeper, but you could see the way he was. I said this guy is going to cost us. I said it might not be like now or today, but it's going to cost us, and he did in that Champions League final. And
it's just it was so frustrating, and that's the one game that even now it does hurt, and I can't. I've got season reviewing. So literally after the Wigan one, the Wigan game, so that's it. Switched off.
I've never watched it back. Actually, never. I've never have watched it back, and I never want to either. I've seen pictures of Campbell's goal when he headed it in again. I've seen sort of still images of it, and that's all I've really seen from that game. I almost want to just wipe it out of my memory. Really, in fact, now looking back on it, it was great to get to the final. It was great to be in a final with the Champions League, but looking back on it now, I wish we hadn't bothered because losing that game has had more of a negative effect. I think it had negative effects on everyone at the club anyway, but certainly from a fans' point of view, the last thing you want to do is lose a Champions League final, and there's nothing worse than that, is it? Especially with us because we've never ever won it. That was our one opportunity. It's our one opportunity to do it, to be 1-0 up as well and lead for so long and be so close to winning it. It actually made it worse. We would have been better off losing 5-0, wouldn't we?
Do you know? I think it's because of that game why psychologically, like I know a lot of people say that the Europa League final we were shit in that, but and we were. But I say that since that 2006 final, it psychologically in Europe, I think it's fucked us over as a club psychologically. Do you know what I mean?
Right. You might be right.
If we'd have won it would have been a different story. But psychologically, you know how like Liverpool, whenever they play in the Champions League, that's their they're most successful in the Champions League like we are in the FA Cup. Yeah, do you know what I mean? They treat the Champions League the same way as we treat the FA Cup.
They go into it believing they can win it, don't they?
Yeah, and that's what we do. That's what we do with the FA Cup. When we do the same with the FA Cup, this our cup. The FA Cup is our favourite trophy, whereas the Champions League is Liverpool's. If you've got Liverpool in the final, you can bet your bottom dollar that you're getting your ass kicked. Do you know what I mean? You ain't losing that final. I mean, I know like I know, like what Real Madrid sort of done it, didn't they? Like the
Unless
Milan
you're losing it.
Milan beat Liverpool in the final one of the
Yeah, they did,
times.
yeah, 2007, I think that was. Yeah,
2007 it was, yeah. But also,
yeah, and Real Madrid done it.
and Real
This
Madrid
season,
beat them,
last season was it?
that
Was
was
it
the
not
season
last
before,
season? The
before
season
they won
before.
it. Yeah, the season
Yeah,
before.
yeah, yeah. That's what I'm saying. But 9
Gareth
times
Bale
out of
scored, didn't
10,
he? Gareth Bale scoring it. And that was when the goalkeeper threw it in, wasn't it? Carriers threw
Yeah.
the ball
That
in.
was Carrier's fault.
Yeah.
Carriers won them
Yeah.
the cup.
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
Double
he
agent.
threw the ball in the net, didn't he?
because
That was one.
because when they lost it, was it AC Milan in 2007?
Yeah,
Yeah.
in Athens.
That I reckon that was pure revenge for 2005. Because by rights,
Yeah.
2005 AC Milan should have won that.
Yeah.
And do you know? I remember that. I remember that game as a neutral as well. Because by half time, I said, I ain't watching this anymore. It's going to be shit. AC Milan have won it. And then I remember people going, "Oh, Liverpool have got one back. Liverpool have got 2 back." And I was like, "Nah, you can't be." And the way they turned it around, they were dead and buried at half time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Absolutely dead and buried.
But there was that save, wasn't there? Was it Dudek made a save? Was it
Dudek, double
Shevchenko
save,
in the second half when he made it? And that's what kind of won him the game, because that was, I think that was in the last minute of normal time as well.
Like, literally, like the last 9 seconds.
He made that save.
Obviously, he saved the penalty as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it's your year, isn't it? And that,
And
for
you
me,
know,
that
yeah.
summed it up for Liverpool. That year they were destined to win that Champions League, and that's what happens. And maybe in 2006, although we feel we deserved it, it obviously wasn't meant to be. It wasn't our year, was it? And everything in that final in the end went against us. Whereas in 2005, everything went in Liverpool's favour, didn't it? After half time, when they were 3-0 down, everything else it fell for them. And that's what you need sometimes to win them trophies. You need to have a little bit of luck. You need to have things go your way. And unfortunately, in the Champions League, we've never had that. That was the closest we ever got to it, and even then, everything went against us on the night.
Because in 2006, Liverpool won the FA Cup, didn't they?
Yeah.
That was when. That was when. Was that against
West Ham? It was
West Ham. Yeah, because that was when Gerrard scored that screamer, wasn't it, to make it 2-2 because West Ham were winning that game. West Ham were winning that game, and then they lost it on penalties.
Yeah, West Ham were winning, and then they were losing, and then it was 2-2, and then it went to 3-3, didn't it, in extra time, and then went to penalties, and Liverpool won. But yeah,
it's just like the memories, isn't it? You're just going back on the memories, and it's like, wow, you just.
That's a good point Liam makes there, actually. The 5-1 against Inter Milan. I remember that, when Henry scored 2, didn't he, that night against
Henry scored 2, Perez, Lundberg and Edu.
I remember that game. That game was such a quality game.
That was probably our greatest ever performance in Europe, I think. A 90-minute performance. That was probably our. I remember when we won.
I thought when we won when we beat Real Madrid at the Bernabeu. Because no other English team had done it at that time, right?
We should have won 3-0, shouldn't we, as well? Because we missed so many chances, didn't we? We missed so many chances in that game, and then Henry finally sticks it in, and it's that was good as well. I just think the 5-1 Milan one, I just think was a better overall performance, you know.
Especially at the time when that Inter Milan team, their defence was the best, put out there as the best defence in Europe.
Yeah, and they beat us 3-0 at Highbury. Do you remember as well? In the previous game, they'd beaten us 3-0. So to go over there and win 5-1, that was incredible. That was incredible. Yeah, that was a great performance.
I think that was best in terms of comeback. But I think our wins against Bayern and Barca were also good. But unfortunately, because we didn't go through, they were kind of underrated.
Yeah, the one in Bayern when we won 2-0, that was a great performance. That wasn't it? When we needed to win 3-0, didn't we? And we won 2-0.
When we won 3-0 against AC Milan, but we didn't go through because we needed that 4th goal.
That 4th goal,
Van Persie doing a stupid chip. Oh man.
There you go, goalie.
See, we've had good memories, haven't we? Even though we haven't managed to win in Europe. Memories, and we need to be back in the Champions League, don't we? Let's face it.
The heartbreaking one was the defeat against Liverpool. The heartbreaking one, the defeat against Liverpool, the last minute goal.
When Adebayor scored, I was like, "We fucking won it now."
Yeah,
and then
straight away they got that dodgy penalty, didn't they? Straight after, the gender against Arsenal again, isn't it? You see, straight away they get a dodgy penalty.
They even screwed us in the league. The referee on that.
I remember we were dead certain to win it. I was like, "Oh, we've won it. We've gone through."
Yeah, there was two games that was painful. Also, the Chelsea game, Wayne Bridge scoring. You know that game as well.
Yeah.
Oh, that
we were 1-0 up then as well, weren't we? We'd have won the Champions League that year. You know, that was the unbeaten season. That if we'd got through Chelsea, I think it was Monaco and Porto in the semi-final and final. We would have won the Champions League that year if it wasn't for Wayne Bridge.
But what about the year that we beat? We had Barcelona, home leg first, beat them 2-1, went back to theirs.
Yeah, that's when Van Persie got sent off, wasn't it?
Right.
Yeah. It was 1-1 over there, wasn't it, at the time? So we were ahead on aggregate, and they sent Van Persie off for kicking for shooting a goal.
And there's a conspiracy there because Mourinho at the time actually put it out there that UEFA wanted Barcelona to win it because of certain brands that they have sponsored them and all that. He's like, we've got no chance because X, Y, and Z because Barca have this sponsor, that these charitable sponsors.
I want to ask you, Richard, as well. So, what's your take on? So, obviously, Nitesh thinks that Vardy was protected.
Don't start now.
No, I want to ask Rich because Richard's never really given his opinion on it. So,
I mean, to be honest with you, I think the goal on Tuesday that Vardy scored was probably a fair goal overall. It would have been difficult to disallow it because it would have been such a tight decision. And to me, I've always said you've got to go with the attacker. We've had so many goals ruled out on VAR by a millimetre offside, and I don't like that. An attacker should be given the advantage. And I've got no problems with the goal. What I do have a problem with is him kicking Mustafi in the head and completely getting away with it. That's what I do have a problem with that. That should have been looked at on VAR at the time. He should have got a retrospective punishment afterwards because he clearly looks at Mustafi before he kicks him. You know, there's intent there that you can see, and he should have that should have been retrospectively banned. And is it not because he's going for the Golden Boot? I don't know because Aubameyang's going to win the Golden Boot anyway, so it's irrelevant. But
a lot of confidence.
Maybe that's true. Maybe they obviously if he gets a 3-match ban now, there's only 4 games left.
Yeah.
So he probably wouldn't win it, and that might be behind it. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not gonna commit to that because I don't necessarily think that's true. But I do think he should have been punished definitely. And the fact he isn't is something that the FA need to answer for. I think because you can't go around kicking a player in the head and suffering no punishment. You can't.
And the funny part is, despite Mustafi having those stud marks on his face, they didn't even go to VAR to just check.
No.
Well, no, even Victor saying even afterwards, the FA have said no, completely fine. But I think
a lot of that is to do with the referee's report, isn't it? If the referee puts something in his report, then they can look at it. If he didn't, then they can't, and that might be, or maybe he mentioned it in there and felt it was okay, and then they can't overrule him. Maybe I don't know, but even so, it's disgraceful that he's got away with it.
I remember when Adebayo obviously left us to go to Man City, the first game he played against us was at the Etihad, and obviously there's a moment where in the match he steps on or stamps on Van Persie's head, and because it was made such a big deal within the media and all that,
he got banned afterwards.
The FA had to have a look into it. And he got a respective ban and fined for it.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. So you see, they can do it when they have to. But again, you see, Adebayo's not an English player going for the Golden Boot. So maybe that is a factor. We don't know. I mean, I find that quite difficult to believe. But I hadn't thought about it before until Nitish mentioned it earlier. But suddenly now I'm thinking, actually, maybe that is true. Yeah. Maybe there is something in that.
Yes, Liam in the chat has got the back four I was mentioning before. He's got it he put it up in the chat. Samuel, Zananetti, Materazzi, and I can't pronounce the last name.
Cordoba.
Yeah. That was a back four, and that was put out there at the time as the best back four ever. And
the best back four in the world.
Didn't they win the Champions League with that defense? They won the Champions League with that defense, right?
No.
When they beat Barca.
I think Materazzi won the Champions League in 2010. Yeah, with Inter Milan.
Walter Samuel was there. I think even Walter Samuel was there.
Probably. The thing is,
that was just a great game when we beat them. That was just
because Walter Samuel disappeared after Inter Milan. He was gone from even the national team, so he was totally gone after that.
Other Champions League nights we've had at the San Siro, first team to beat AC Milan on that 2-0.
I remember that.
Fabregas won the goal.
That was the season we played Liverpool, wasn't it?
It
Yeah, the
was. Yeah,
following-
we
next round we've got
beat
the-
AC
following
Milan
game.
and we played Liverpool. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then we
That
got
was-
we got-
fucked over.
and then we got robbed.
Yeah.
Like always.
As
And
per
then the
you-
other, what was the year when we got battered by Man United in the semi-final? We
Oh, that was
the-
2007, 2008,
No,
2009 or
late-
something.
No.
Yeah, 2009, I think it might have been.
2009. We got battered in the
No, 2008, 2009 season, because it was the anniversary of
because
our.
they beat. What was it? They beat us
Oh,
1-0 or something.
They beat us 1-0 at Old Trafford, and then they
Then
beat us
battered
3-1 at Emirates.
Yeah, but we
Yeah.
were lucky to only lose 1-0 in that first leg. They should have
Yeah.
scored about 5 that night. We hung on for a 1-0. We thought, actually, that's not a bad result. We can do this. And then at the Emirates, Ronaldo
Good
had that
2 minutes,
shot about
boom.
40 yards
in
out
10 minutes.
straight in his net, didn't he?
No,
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
had
I remember we started the game off and everyone was thinking, yeah, we're gonna, because we had to
Yeah.
score. If they scored, we had to score 4, didn't we?
Yeah.
So,
I remember we started really well, and then all of a sudden Ronaldo scored that goal and it just deflated us like a blooming
Yeah.
erect penis. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
United probably would have had a lot more decisions going against them if Ronaldo had stayed, because at the end, whenever some team goes unbeaten quite a bit, the FA comes and breaks that unbeaten streak.
But yeah, speaking about United as well, you can see that the UEFA has every time an agenda against English teams. I just don't know why. Because when Manchester United went to the final at Wembley against Barcelona, they literally got peppered and schooled by Barca. They literally were outclassed. They were literally outclassed. I think they should have been humiliated. If that was Arsenal, probably Barca would be scoring 6 or 7. But since it's just MU, probably they just give them some money to just like lose at a respectable scoreline or something, you know. Because I don't think so. They played really well. They should have been schooled.
beat Chelsea in Moscow.
Yeah.
Oh, the
right.
banana
And
kick,
John
bloody Terry,
Terry missed that penalty, didn't he? He was,
He's just like this, and it's like,
bloody
oh, no.
bastard.
yeah.
But John Terry, whenever Chelsea lost the final or lost something that would lead to a potential title, whatever competition, he always do that. And
But Ryan,
what annoyed me about John Terry is when they won something, he wasn't even involved. He wasn't even in the squad for the match day.
I know, yeah. He come in
He won
and
it.
kit, didn't he?
Kick,
Put his
like,
full kit on.
Ryan, what about the luck that we had? We had a very tough luck in the 2006 Champions League. Don't you think Chelsea robbed our luck and took it to London when they beat Bayern Munich, because they were getting peppered by Bayern Munich in the final as well? That one luck they had, and they scored and they won that.
They were the most undeserving team to win the Champions League, probably.
Yeah,
especially in that season. Especially in that season, because they were
But
poor.
the only positive that they had was that Ramirez goal and some of the involvement against Barca, where they actually turned things around and actually won that tie. Barca was the favorite to actually win that season, but then Chelsea they played well in that second leg against Barca, and apart from that, they were the most.
We need to get back in the Champions League. We
I
need.
think we'll be back in this soon. I think from what I've seen of Arteta, and as I said, once he gets his full squad together, what his players, and gets the ones that are dead, that won't work.
I'm jealous of teams being in the Champions League. When I watch Champions League, do you know what it is? I know it sounds really bad. I actually can't watch the Champions League now without getting jealous, because I'm like, we're fucking. That's
Daniel,
how
we'll be
far
back in
we've fallen off our pedestal. Do you know what I mean? Like, and everyone's going, oh, I enjoy being in the Europa League. Fuck the Europa League. It's boring. The only time the Europa League gets exciting is when it's played at the end. And even then, it's a controversy, because teams drop down from the Champions League into the Europa League, which should never happen, because it makes a complete mockery of the tournament. I've
quite enjoyed the Europa League. I've quite enjoyed it, actually, the Europa League. I have.
Yeah, but Richard,
it's not where I want to be. It's not where I want us to be, but I've sort of enjoyed it.
Do you think, right, it's fair that teams from the Champions League who have been shit in their group drop down into the Europa League?
No.
I don't think
that's not fair.
I think if you get knocked out of Europe, you should stay out of
You're
Europe.
out for it for good.
I agree with that. Definitely. It makes it unfair on the teams that's battled through the Europa League to suddenly get some of these top European teams drop in, and they've got to suddenly, it makes their competition a lot harder. I mean, at the end of the day, that's not really affected us because we've kind of done quite well. I know this year we didn't, but we've done quite well in it before. But I've not minded the Europa League being in it. You know, it's been okay. It's not obviously where we want to be, and I think we do need to be in the Champions League. And I look forward to seeing us back in the Champions League again very soon. But
nice cheap holiday.
I'm not minded it. It's been all right. You know, I don't mind playing on a Thursday night either because it seems to break the week up a bit better, and the weekend game seems to come around quicker. And I don't mind it really. I'm not that bothered. But
what I've said with respect to this is that the only reason they get in teams from the Champions League is to increase the viewership, and that gives them
money as well.
And the money increases. Yeah.
But then saying that, but I agree with you, Nitish, right? I agree with you. But then the whole point of the Europa League was to give smaller teams a chance. And if you're bringing teams in from the Europa League, from the Champions League down into the Europa League because of that, then obviously the tournament is a waste of time. So instead of doing that, instead of undermining your own reasons for bringing that tournament, just scrap the fucking tournament in the first place. It
gives them a lot of benefit. I've said this. We have had this debate before. A club that is aspiring to be someday in the Champions League needs to have the money and they need to have the resources. If you think only from the title winning point of view, then the clubs will never grow. These clubs get a lot of money, like 25 million pounds, I think, is what they receive for just being in the Europa League. So that money may not be big money it is big money for Arsenal. It may not be big money for Manchester United, but then it is big money for some of these smaller clubs. And without that money, probably they will financially struggle. I think one of the clubs from the Championship, Barnsley or some club recently went into administration as well. So you can see what kind of Wigan. So you can see what kind of impact it is having. And I don't think anyone will say that we don't want to play in the Europa League just because we are not winning the title, because there are various other benefits that they won't deny. They will obviously say that we want the money, we want the exposure, we want to increase our level as well. They won't mind getting beaten by a team like Arsenal if they make like around 10 million pounds out of it, because they are actually making money which they can use to buy some more players, develop their talent, and also are getting exposure at a very high level.
But see, the point is, right, they say that Europa League, like the UEFA said, okay, we want Europa League because it will give a chance. You know, and when they brought in that rule about if you win the Europa League, you get a Champions League spot, they made that so that teams, you know, there could be lesser teams in the Champions League pot. But every team, most of the teams that have won the Europa League have dropped down from the Champions League.
I mean, look at our first season at Europa.
But then you will say that most of the clubs that come to the Premier League from the Championship also get relegated over time. So that is also one thing. And the other thing with respect to that is when you go in the Europa League, you are only focused on about winning the title and going to the Champions League. There can always be a Leicester in the Europa League as well. So we never know, and it may not happen that often. But as I said one thing before as well, if you have seen, I had that day shown the stats of how many teams who have won the Europa League have actually been in the Europa League before itself and have actually come in the Europa League from the Champions League and won it. I think it is like 2:1. Clubs that have already been in the in the Europa League have double the number of title wins of the Europa League than the clubs that have come from the Champions League. Because you need to remember, some clubs like Atletico Madrid, some clubs like Manchester United in the last few seasons, Arsenal have already been in the Europa League. They have not started from the Champions League, and they have been some of the finalists in the competition, and Atletico Madrid also won it, I think, that season when they were already in the Europa League.
Yeah, they did.
No, Atletico won it because they dropped down out of their group into the Europa League.
So, but
they were in the Champions League group stages. They were in the Champions League group stages. Then they dropped down, and then they met us in the semi-final, and obviously knocked us out. And then they went on to win it. But they were in the Champions League group stages.
I think Chelsea, the one Chelsea won. Chelsea was already in the Europa League.
Chelsea was already in the Europa League. Yeah, Chelsea played the Europa League all the way through, didn't they? The year they beat us. Last year they did, yeah.
Even Manchester United, I think they were also the ones in the Europa League.
They were in Europa League all the way through as well, yeah. You know, Atletico, when they beat us, was knocked out of the Champions League. But that didn't really, it wasn't like, you know, they were much better than us because we were a Europa League team and they were a Champions League team. It wasn't, was it? I mean, they beat us by one goal over 2 legs, and realistically, at the Emirates, we should have beat them sort of 3 or 4-0, shouldn't we? Because we was all over them in that game. And we conceded a stupid goal at the end, didn't we? So I don't think that really makes a lot of difference. But I agree with what Daniel said before. You shouldn't have teams dropping out. If you finish third in your group in the Champions League, you should be out of Europe. If you finish third in your group in the Europa League, you're out of Europe. So it should be the same. And
It should be the same.
Yeah, and if it puts more pressure on the teams to come in the top two, because what happens is now a lot of teams, maybe if they don't think they're going to get first place in a group or second, they rest players that they'll come third, and they've got a safety net, haven't they? Whereas if they had to finish second to stay in it, they'll have to play a stronger team.
Yeah.
It'll make the competition stronger, wouldn't it?
And I want to just add one more reason they actually do that is why. Because suppose, say, a very small team somehow makes it to the final and they get hammered final or 6-0 in the final of the Europa League. It will be very embarrassing for them that the entire competition has ended in a totally one-sided win, and they try to protect the finals and the semi-finals of the tournament as well. Because what will happen is when you're getting some more...
Not necessarily, because we got battered 4-1. They didn't protect us. They didn't protect the final.
No, I This is a very small club. It could be an 8-0 or a 9-0 as well. It could be that as well.
Oh, don't talk about 8. We lost 8-2 on my bloody birthday, so I can't forget that against United.
Oh dear.
Yeah, we're the kings of getting a hammer.
Embarrassing scorelines, yeah. 6-0 on Wenger's 1000th game, 8-2 on my bloody birthday, and what? 5-1 against Liverpool, multiple 5-1s against Liverpool.
6-3 against City.
Yeah, Pellegrini City as well.
10-2.
Yeah, I think we are still getting punished. We are still getting punished by Liverpool on basically what we did against them in the Carling Cup. You know, the 6-3 win we had against Liverpool at Anfield. I think we are still getting punished for that.
10-2 against Bayern Munich. Jesus Christ, that was humiliating.
So that is why I wanted to say one thing when you said we want to be back in the Champions League, not for 3 years.
I can't. Another 80.
Not for 2 to 3 years at least. We need to build that team first and then get back there. If we get back there now...
Yeah, but let's face it. This season in the Europa League, we got knocked out at exactly the same point where we've always got knocked out of the Champions League. So I'd rather get knocked out of the Champions League in February than the Europa League in February.
We got knocked out by a We got knocked out by a bunch of Greek farmers. And the only reason we got knocked out is because we underestimated them. We underestimated them. We went into that second leg thinking, because we played well, because historically, when we played shit, when Olympiacos played good against us, it's usually at their place. And this season, we actually played all right at their place, and we come away with a win. So because historically we normally get absolutely our pants pulled down at their place, and because we won, we went into that second leg thinking, oh, I'm just going to roll it over, we're at home. And actually, they absolutely fully embarrassed us.
Although, having said that, if Aubameyang scored that goal at the last minute, we would have gone through, wouldn't we?
Yeah,
he should have scored 5 yards out, put it wide. He should have scored, and then we're through, aren't we? And it's job done. But
we played better football in every department than the first leg. If you see stats of every department, shots on target.
Historically, we've always done bad at Olympiacos' game.
Yes, I agree. But what I'm saying is we did not play that poorly. We dominated every stat. We had better stats than the first leg, but we were lucky to win the first leg and we were not so lucky in the second leg.
I remember that fucking game. I was jet lagged listening to that game. That second leg, I was
on the goal.
I don't know whether it was jet lag because I'd just come back from Australia, or whether it was the fact that we were just fucking it up. Do you know what I mean?
You would have probably wished that you stayed in Australia for a few more days.
Yeah, I wish I kind of did.
We should stay there all the time now because they haven't even been affected by COVID too much, have they?
Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have Victoria, Melbourne. Melbourne's got it.
Oh yeah, Melbourne's got another lockdown now, haven't they? Yeah.
And I went to Melbourne. It was pretty. Didn't really like Melbourne. You're not really missing much.
New Zealand was COVID-free.
Anyway, it's getting late. Yeah, so it's getting late now. I'm going to start wrapping things up. It's been a good show actually, and obviously chat. Been enjoying it as well. First, I'll say shout out to Adam and Sam for coming on earlier. Appreciate their time. And again, it was a good debate. I think didn't get out of hand.
No.
And And at the end, we've reminisced on our I say glory, but our Champions League
glory.
nights.
Yeah. Champions League defeats, all 100 of them.
We were a bit like Arsenal. First half debate, second half storytelling.
Yeah.
Probably put half of them to bed.
Oh dear. But yeah, I'll be back tomorrow doing a preview to the Spurs game. But then, in terms of watch along this match day, we're on Daniel's channel for the watch along, I believe, on Sunday, and then we're back on here for the Liverpool game for the watch along for that. So, Richard, I was going to ask you: are you around on Sunday to join?
I'll be around. Yeah, shouting a few obscenities probably.
I think I'll be wearing a certain T-shirt tomorrow.
To mark the occasion.
We saw that one. And it is drum roll.
Beautiful. Yeah, you've got to wear that on Sunday, definitely.
I think you should wear it once we win.
No, wear it anyway. We'll win anyway. It's not a problem.
What was that?
I was saying you should wear it once we win for the entire week.
That's what I'm saying. Just for Liam.
Yeah.
Just for Liam.
But yeah, so yeah, if you haven't already subscribed to Daniel's channel, go and do that now. The Blind Gooner. But I'm going to give people a chance to chat at their pages and all that, and where people can find you. I'll start with you, Kevin.
Yeah, all right.
People find.
Well, daydreaming still. God damn. All right, Ryan, thanks for having me on tonight, man. It was a great fun show, with the debate. Yeah, it was kind of like subtle a bit. I wasn't able to speak much, but I made my point. Yeah, I had to make my point. But yeah, it was kind of fun. It's great to see, especially Richard and Sam was having a lockdown. That was really epic. So yeah, and nice to see Daniel, Nitish every time with his controversial facts as well. So it was kind of fun as well. Ryan, as always, man. So yeah, guys, you can also find me in Twitter, Kevin_Mark434, and you can also find me most common in Daniel's channel, as I'm the co-host there. So I'll be assisting Daniel with his contents and stuff in Daniel's channel as well. Pretty looking forward for the North London derby this coming weekend. So let's go kick them chickens in with the beach ball, man.
Nitesh, what about yourself?
Yeah, I was happy. I finally found another trigger for Sam. It's the Wadi goal now. I just mentioned it and he'll say I'm not talking about it. So that was one more highlight of the show. And obviously Kevin was quietly swiping on the Tinder, all right swipes.
Yeah.
While we were having the debate.
You know that shit.
Because I think it's like 5 a.m. there, and you were like from 3 a.m. you're going on right swipe.
Right swipe, yeah.
Either that or it's probably RedTube.
No, he can't probably watch porn online, so he was swiping on the Tinder. And,
Yeah.
and he didn't come into the debate until finally Ryan said, Kevin, you are part of the show as well. So he then finally came in.
I was like looking through, man. God damn. Nitish just had to pull that through, right?
He had his earphones on and Tinder in his hand. And I also noticed that you have a pink cover on your phone, so I think that suits the mood as well a bit. But yeah, big up to everyone in the panel. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Richard, and thank you, Kevin, as well. And to the people, I hope Sam didn't go away because I mentioned Wadi. But yes, big up to everyone and everyone in the chat as well, on Arsenal FC fans as well. And yes, you can find me on Arsenal FC fans on Facebook, and probably I'll be joining these guys for more videos. Today I was a bit up and down because this topic I had my opinion somewhere in between, but probably once when I am into the topic on a particular side, I can go at it full on. And thank you so much again.
As Sam found out the hard way.
The obvious way.
And Richard, where can people find you as well? On your blog as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on Twitter. It's obviously Gooner Rich Beers, it says on the screen. I've got a blog over and over and over again, which just, looks back on previous sort of Arsenal games from history, old players, and also currently some of the sort of latest match reports and stuff like that as well. So I normally put stuff on there as well, you know, latest news that comes in, and, you know, a few anniversaries of players joining a club and all that kind of stuff. Just want to say, I mean, I've enjoyed the show tonight. Brilliant. You know, it was good. You know, Sam, me and Sam did have some disagreements, but I think we kind of, you know, we've ended with it. You know, I think we both see each other's point of view, which is good. And the same with Daniel as well. So I mean, it's been a good debate, and it's been fun, as it always is. And obviously, I look forward to Sunday when someone said, Jonathan in the chat said 4-1. I actually predicted 4-1 last night when I was on another channel on Guns and Yellow Ribbons. I said we'd win 4-1. So I'm going to stick with that again. I agree with Jonathan. We are going to win 4-1, and it's going to be great, and we're going to all enjoy it together, and it's going to be funny. So I look forward to that. And I'll see you guys again on Sunday.
Yep. And lastly, Daniel, where can people find you and promote your channel, obviously?
Yeah, listen, thanks for having me on, Brian. Listen, it was a great debate. Listen, we all had some great points. You know, Nitesh there with his one-liners, Sam with his you know, with his stats there and everything, and Richard, yourself was good, and obviously Kevin, when he's not eyeing up women, he's obviously part of the debate too. So yeah, listen, it was great. It was fantastic, and you know, it was great to have a good debate, and it was done in a respectful way. So yeah, listen, it's always good to have these debates. They're very, very enjoyable. But yeah, you guys can find me at the Blind Gooner, which is my YouTube channel, and then also I have a Facebook page called the Blind Gooner. I'm going to be posting a lot more stuff on there to get you guys there on the page interacting. So yeah, please go and like the page and subscribe to the channel. Got lots of great content coming up on the channel. Got the preview tomorrow. I've not pinned down a time yet, but I'll keep you guys updated. I'll post it on the channel. And then on Sunday, it's the big one, the North London Derby, and hopefully we should win it because, listen, Tottenham have been dog shit lately, haven't they?
Yeah.
So yeah, we need to get 3 points in that game, especially when we drop points on Tuesday. So yeah, listen, thanks once again, and do subscribe to my channel and do like my page, and my Twitter is pretty simple, at the Blind Gooner. And thanks, Ryan, for a great show and having me on.
I appreciate you all coming on, as I always do, and thanks for the feedback as well. And as I said, I'll be back tomorrow. Once you've done your preview, I'll do my preview later on in the day or night, whatever. But then obviously I'm on your channel on Sunday. So yeah, until next time, guys. Enjoy the rest of your evenings. Enjoy your weekend. Back the Arsenal. Get ready for the North London Derby. The big one. Behind closed doors, no fans. They got no support. Mourinho's having a meltdown over Arsenal admin. It can't get better than that, surely.
Yeah.
Come on, you Gunners.
Forward.
Let's roast them roosters.